This feudal lord is highly scientific. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 726, The Undead Mage. Everyone was shocked. This is a teacher of the Great Wilderness University, an 18th level expert, an epic level expert. To teach at the Great Wilderness University, unless you are so powerful that even the Duke is amazed or praised, you need to be at least 15th level strong. And this female teacher has reached 18th level. What is epic level? A strong person has reached the level where countless people have made poems for him and spread all over the continent. At the same time, in the Black and White Kingdom, an epic level expert means that you can apply for the title of Marquis. As long as you pass the Noble Council, you can become the Marquis of the Black and White Kingdom. This 18th level expert is even the pillar of a family or a small force in Nassam. Such an existence is not something that these low-level professionals around here, or just ordinary people, can provoke. Not to mention provoking, it is difficult to see him once in normal times. At this time, this powerful existence was angry. The female teacher floated in the sky, looking coldly at the small group of ice crystal giant deer below, just looking at them indifferently. After a while, a slightly younger ice crystal giant deer spoke again. So what if you are strong? Don't you never bully the weak at Dahuang University? We are just children. What do you want to do to us? His voice got louder and louder, and finally he became very confident. His meaning was very simple. I'm a junior. How can you bully me? Yes. We are still children. Are all the teachers at Dahuang University like this? This old witch must be thousands of years old, and she still wants to. At first, the ice crystal giant deer looked at the arms waving around and felt a little creepy, even like the ancient undead wizard. But now they thought, this is a teacher. Even if it is an undead wizard, can he kill them all? Whether it is the slaughter of ice crystal giant deer, the slaughter of humans or any other intelligent race, as long as it is not the kind of servants, it is basically horrifying. It was okay in the past, but now the era of newspapers and magazines launched by Dahuang City has arrived, and with the promotion of Live Broadcast Stone, that is, the TV of the other world, the news has already spread. If you slaughter people here today, Dahuang University will be condemned by thousands of people tomorrow. Most of them may come from citizens of various cities in lava territory, and even most of these citizens may come from teachers and students of Dahuang University. Therefore, the more these ice crystal giant deer think about it, the more confident they are. What these ice crystal giant deer say makes sense. Yes. Even if Dahuang University is right, they can't kill everyone, right? They always have to think about the overall situation. The Naseng community of shared destiny has been formed. This may be considered an internal struggle. His Royal Highness the Duke may be angry if he knows about it. The people around have also recovered a little from the female teacher's control, and they are chatting with each other. Moreover, there are more and more people who eat melons. People who originally came and went in the teleportation array, as long as they are not in a hurry, want to stop and join in the fun. However, at this moment, the female teacher also spoke. Oh, this is moral kidnapping? The female teacher sneered. If you can't beat me, I will kill you all, and then I will directly defect from Dahuang University and wander around the world. Do you think our handsome and wise Lord Lin Ke will secretly protect me? Ha ha ha. Panduo, who had already pushed to the side of his classmate to restore his magic power, couldn't help but shudder when he heard the words. Is this still the playful and cute female teacher who was slightly on the edge along the way? Why does her voice now sound as terrifying as the violent thunder banshee? Exclamation mark. This is a whole human-shaped dragon. Panduo was surprised, and then he slightly loosened his sore hands and stood there to watch the situation develop. At this time, as soon as the female teacher's voice fell, everyone changed color, and even the onlookers became chaotic. The female witch was killing people, so wouldn't they, the onlookers, be killed too? Run. Seeing that there was going to be a riot here, the female teacher shouted, don't move. Whoever moves will die. Domineering. Murderous. Accompanied by that kind of pressure, the scene suddenly became quiet. The ice crystal deer were all scared out of their wits. None of them had ever seen such a terrifying woman. The family had always protected them very well, so how could they have seen such a scene? One or two of the younger ones even peed themselves directly. At this time, the female teacher's voice softened again. Don't worry, even if I kill them, I will only kill these dirty-mouthed brats. Our great wilderness university has always educated people with morality, law, and knowledge. Violence is only a method and means, not a goal, just like the handsome, cute, and sexy His Highness Lin Ke once said. Stop. Who are you? How dare you be so presumptuous in my eternal frozen court? Just as the female teacher was speaking, a red light shot out from the distance, and the voice came from there. The ice crystal deer, who had just fought with Panduo, and was lying on the ground dying, suddenly jumped up. The ice crystal giant deer looked up at the sky in surprise. Grandpa. Grandpa, you are here. Grandpa, save me. As soon as he spoke, he cried, and tears rolled down from his eyes. It made people wonder if the arrogant ice crystal giant deer was replaced. The female teacher in the sky sneered. Grandpa? Is it the old counselor of the Yeoden Icefield giant deer clan, Saurus Yeoden? The red light in the sky stayed right above the ice crystal giant deer, facing the female teacher from a distance. At this time, the audience dispersed one by one. They could watch and point fingers at the fight between the 5th and 7th level professionals. But the aftermath of the fight between the 18th level strongmen could cost the lives of the audience. If you want to watch a show, you still have to go to a place like the wonderful land of the great wilderness city, where there is enough protection. If you watch a show here, you will probably die without a burial place. The two people in the sky did not care about the intelligent life that escaped on the ground, but were communicating. Exactly. I wonder who you are. The ice crystal deer called Thoris looked no different from other ice crystal deer, except that the antlers on its head were crimson. Me. You can call me the Thunderbolt Witch. The female teacher chuckled. Thunderbolt Witch? Thoris was shocked and said in a lost voice, the 16th level, undead mage, who disappeared 200 years ago. But how come you are 18th level now? Only 2 levels, what's the big deal? The female teacher sneered. I'm not a undead mage. Now, I changed my job. Okay, stop talking nonsense. If you want to fight, hurry up. We still have to hurry. As she spoke, the magic power in the female teacher's body suddenly boiled. The battle was about to break out. Chapter 727. You shameful thing. Die. Wait. The red-horned Thoris hurriedly called a halt, and even subconsciously took a few steps back on his 4 hooves. Thoris was wailing in his heart at this time. You know, the Thunderbolt Witch on the opposite side had been roaming the ice field before he was born. Although she became a great undead wizard for some unknown reason, she disappeared after all. Who knew that she would show up again today, and as a teacher at the Great Wilderness University? Exclamation mark. And she is also a level 18 expert! Exclamation mark. Level 16 to level 18 is not level 6 to level 8. Even if it is level 6 to level 8, in the eyes of some people, it is a shackle that will trap you for a lifetime. From level 16 to level 18, many people cannot break through in their entire lives. He is the only pillar of the family. If he collapses, the giant deer tribe in the Yeoden Icefield is likely to be destroyed. And that Thunderbolt Witch? At least in Thoris's opinion, even if he wins, he can't kill this witch, because now the Thunderbolt Witch has another title. Professor of the Great Wilderness University. What if he loses? According to the news that Saurus had heard, the Thunderbolt Witch who slaughtered her partner's entire family might also slaughter the giant deer family of the Yeoden Icefield. At least a professor at the Great Wilderness University is much more important than an old congressman. So, Saurus had no choice but to compromise at this time. Of course, he had compromised countless times in his life, so this time was no big deal. What? The Thunderbolt Witch raised her eyebrows. Don't you want to fight first? I dare not. Saurus looked at his descendants below, especially the lawless dude who entered the Glacier University, and his eyes became sharp. He shook his head slightly, and a series of light element swords appeared in the sky. compared with the one used by the dude before. The light element swords condensed by Saurus at this time were overwhelming, densely packed with at least tens of thousands of swords. Each of these light element swords was only the size of a finger, but it was extremely condensed, and the light element contained in each sword was several times that of the one used by the dude. More light element, but smaller in shape, proved its condensation level. The intelligent beings below were all stunned. However, before everyone could react, the densely packed swords of light element shot out. The target was not the female teacher, but the playboy of the same clan as Saurus, the playboy who was admitted to Glacier University. Grandfather. The playboy watched with disbelief in his eyes. He never thought that he would be attacked by his grandfather, whom he regarded as a savior, and the first move was the famous skill light element sword, which was obviously used with all his strength. He is the pride of the family and the pride of Glacier University. How could he? Puff, puff, puff. A series of sounds rang out, and the playboy who spoke rudely half an hour ago was directly pierced through the body by thousands of swords. Because there were too many light element swords, his body finally exploded into a pile of broken corpses, except for his beautiful deer antlers. Shame on you. Saurus snorted coldly and paused his front hoof. Suddenly, the swords of light element turned into light spots and attached to the minced meat, turning the minced meat into the purest energy and merging it into the heaven and earth. This operation directly shocked everyone. This epic strong man came here only a few minutes ago, and he killed his own descendants? What kind of operation is this? The people who were originally eating melons on the ground were very puzzled, but no one said anything. Saurus now turned his cold eyes to the group of young descendants, and the giant deer of the Aehodan Icefield, who had just been frightened by the female teacher, were frightened again to the point that their hearts were about to explode. Grandpa wants to kill them. Humph, the family supports you every day, so that you can study hard and become as powerful as that love master one day. Nassim shares the same fate with you, not so that you can cause trouble everywhere. Saurus scolded the young descendants with a stern voice, not caring about the people around him. Today I should have killed all of you to set an example, but now Nassim's strength should be focused on the front line instead of internal fighting. I limit you to rush to the front line after you become adults, otherwise you will die on the day you become adults. Get out. As the only pillar of the family and the mainstay of the family, Saurus has supreme power in the family. Those ice deer naturally nodded desperately one by one, and then left one after another. Saurus is now doing this naturally to protect his descendants. As long as he is here, this family will not fall. As for the Jew just now, he is just a slightly talented descendant, and he has no emotions. Saurus can't even remember his name. In the future, his achievements may only be level 12 or 13. He can be a mainstay, but he can't be a stabilizing force. If he dies, he dies. There are not many people with similar talents in the family, but there should be a few. When the time comes, we can pick one and send it to Glacier University. As long as the witch can calm down, it doesn't matter if he kills a few more. The key is that he can't get hurt. At the same time, Thora stomped his front hooves calmly, and the antlers on the ground immediately flew to his side and floated. His originally serious expression relaxed, and then he walked towards the female teacher on all fours. My lord witch, I'll let an unworthy descendant affect the reputation of my Aehodan family. Now he has died to apologize. This antler will be used as an apology. Thoris shook his head lightly, and the antlers immediately floated towards the female teacher. Everyone was speechless again. The dude just now said he would die to apologize. That's called being killed to apologize, right? After he died, he still used other people's antlers as an apology. It's really enough. He has no backbone at all. However, from the perspective of the Great Wilderness University, this Saurus did a good job. It can only be said that he is worthy of being an old monster who has lived for hundreds of years. He was also very arrogant when he first started, but after distinguishing the situation, he immediately judged the most advantageous and most convenient method and immediately executed it. His observation, judgment, and execution are all very high. What do I need this thing for? The female teacher waved her hand in disdain, and the antlers floated down and stopped in front of the silent Pando. Pando, this is for you. You fought well just now. Saurus, you are so embarrassed to give me this kind of thing. The one on your head is almost the same, red, and it fits the temperament of our lava territory. She emphasized the pronunciation of the two words us. Saurus's body stiffened suddenly. Okay, let's continue on our way. At this moment, a steady male voice came from below, and it was the main teacher in charge of this time, Rock Knight. As for Mr. Saurus, you insulted us first, and we taught you a lesson later. Your crime is not punishable by death, but since you are already dead, let's just leave it alone. Let's go, let's go. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 728, Rock Knight. As soon as the Rock Knight spoke, it played a decisive role. The arrogant female teacher who was flying in the air immediately came down from the sky after hearing the words. They were going to the front line to experience, not to fight fiercely. And Saurus did not stop them after hearing the words. As an epic strongman, he naturally knew that different colleges of the Great Wilderness University would have different tasks. For example, he heard that the riding major of the Knight Academy needs to ride around Nassau when they reach level 5, and they cannot return to school if they have not ridden less than 50,000 kilometers. Saurus estimated that this witch was out to perform some kind of mission. But he looked down and saw the other two people side by side with the female teacher. These 13 people are all human, but he can't see through the other two teachers of the Great Wilderness University. But Saurus just kept silent and watched them galloping away. After they left, Saurus looked at the pedestrians coming and going on the ground and said nothing and went back in the direction they came from. And this conflict was also reported by the Great Wilderness News Network that day, and it was reported in great detail. From the provocation of the Jude at the beginning, to the counterattack of the Great Wilderness University, and finally the appearance of the boss of the Jude's family. The twists and turns of the story made the audience very excited. At this time, Panduo and his friends were led by their teacher to fly to a conifer family, from there to the front line, which is the secondary plain Great Sand. The specialness of the Grey Sand Plain is that this plain is rich in great sand. This kind of sand is one of the best building materials and has good resistance to fire and water element, so it is often used to make some special weapons. For example, when the Great Wilderness City was built, tens of thousands of tons of grey sand were purchased, including those wonders in the Great Library, to improve the resistance to water and fire element. The grey sand production of the Grey Sand Plain is very high, which is one of the pillar industries of the conifer family and the most important industry. Otherwise, no family elders would choose to take root to protect this plain. At this time, the light of the teleportation array lit up, and a group of people appeared here. It was Panduo and his friends. Whoosh, the wind and sand howled, and the sky was gloomy. This is the perennial scenery of the Grey Sand Plain. The so-called grey sand is sand full of wind element collected from high altitude places similar to sandstorms, and then through extraction, brewing and other methods, finally refined into crystal clear sand like gemstones. This is great sand. Great sand. I don't know what the principle of this grey sand is. Is it silicon dioxide? At this time, Panduo was chatting with the classmate next to him. The 10 classmates became more and more familiar with each other, so they chatted in twas and threes. At this time, Panduo was chatting with a classmate from the School of Chemistry. Physics and chemistry are inseparable, and the two of them can chat very well. Yes, it should be a mixture of multiple substances, but the main substance of the refined grey sand is no longer silicon dioxide, but wind element. The classmate from the School of Chemistry chatted with Panduo. They walked out of the teleportation array, and then several coniferous tree people came over and checked the relevant documents and procedures. Their 3 teachers showed their levels in turn, and finally they went out after layers of inspection. As soon as they came out, the wind and sand that had been weakened by the protective magic array suddenly became much more violent. They had to use their own methods to block the wind and sand, such as magic shields, windproof goggles, etc. Otherwise they couldn't open their eyes. Classmates, now we are entering the battlefield. The Rock Knight, who had not spoken much along the way, spoke seriously at this time. Everyone's face became solemn when they heard it. Although they are all socialites with a wide range of friends. But they are not the type of reckless people. They are all very cowardly and obedient. They know that on the battlefield, the stronger the person, the clearer the vision. If they act rashly, a single move will affect the whole body, which may often cause serious consequences. Next, follow the orders. Rock Knight said concisely, and at the same time, raised his hand to take out an item. Bicycle. His mount. This bicycle is very large, about 1.6 meters or 1.7 meters long. The whole car has a heavy feeling, and various secret texts are engraved on it, shining with the brilliance of magic. It doesn't look like a bicycle, but like a motorcycle. And it is a 9th level magic item. Rock Knight rode his bicycle, and it lit up with a bright glow. As a knight, you must have your own mount after entering the battlefield. After riding the bicycle, the Rock Knight did not need to move much. The magic power was naturally input into the bicycle, and the bicycle started slowly. The speed was not fast, but it moved slowly at the front of the team, like a yellowish boulder that was slowly rolling down. Pando looked at the bicycle and was very envious. The other boys were similar. Who doesn't want to have their own mount? It's a pity that they don't have a mount now, at least not before graduation. Pando looked at another male teacher. The male teacher took out an ordinary bicycle of only level 5, with 2 training wheels on the rear wheel. Although ordinary, it was also engraved with various inscriptions. Bicycles are basically the standard equipment of Dahuang University now. Just like as in standard Mount Gila NIU in the past. Every man wants it. At the same time, the male teacher waved at them. Suddenly, a breeze immediately surrounded the 10 students, increasing their speed. At the same time, after Pando's speed increased, his eyesight also improved, and he could see farther. And, they are invisible. This is a group game. And it is a wind skill and a light skill. Who is this teacher? He is proficient in the 2 laws of wind and light. How come I have never seen them before? After Panduo went to study, he often learned about these things. He knew many professors, even if they were not from their college. As a result, he could not remember where he had seen this male teacher. He felt like a complete stranger. However, Panduo did not think much about it. In a sense, Dahuang University is almost the same as a super large secondary plane, or it should be said that it can be regarded as several super large secondary planes. It is normal that some teachers have not been seen. The group rushed on the road and soon arrived at a city from the teleportation array. However, they did not go in, but continued to move forward. It was not until the evening of the next day that they approached the front line. Just a few thousand miles away from the front line, they could feel the vibration of light and shadow and laws in the distance. When they approached a few hundred miles, the sound of fighting also faintly rang in their ears. The speed of the 3 teachers in front also slowed down, and their expressions became more cautious. Finally, we are getting close. Chapter 729, The Strange Sonorous. Boom. A loud noise came from a distance. Pando looked over immediately. It was a coniferous tree that was several hundred meters tall. A huge amount of earth element condensed in its 2 arms, transformed into huge boulders, and smashed into the distance. And on the ground in the distance, there was a monster with a terrifying appearance roaring there. The monster was blood red all over, like a skinned hyena, but the body, that was dozens of meters tall, had 6 pairs of 12 legs. 7 legs touched the ground, 5 pointed to the sky, and the end was a human hand with 10 fingers, dripping with blood. A 7-legged spider with hands on its back, looking like a hyena. At the same time, this strange creature similar to a hyena has a mouth, but this mouth extends from the head to the middle and back of the body. The roar of this hyena is as strange as if the whole body is opened. It's too weird. Pando looked at the strange creature and held his breath for a while, only to find it difficult to breathe. Roar. The hyena roared and directly resisted the earth element boulder thrown by the conifer man. The earth element boulder is not an ordinary stone formed in nature. It is harder than ordinary stones. But a bloody foot with a palm on the back of the hyena burst out like a spear, piercing and breaking the boulder. After a while, the shock wave of the broken boulder came over and blew on Pando's face. It seems that we just encountered a battle. The Rock Knight suddenly stopped, then raised his right hand to stop their advance, his face solemn. Pando and the others stopped, without saying a word, waiting for the teacher's arrangement. The Rock Knight looked at another male teacher, and the male teacher also looked over. The two seemed to be communicating with each other through voice transmission, and the communication ended after a while. Then the male teacher slowly walked forward, and the Rock Knight took a few steps back, and stood side by side with the female teacher. Sure enough, Pando's inner guess was confirmed. This male teacher is indeed problematic. From childhood to adulthood, what he was most proud of was his observation ability. At the beginning, his accidental discovery helped Uncle Mark know the existence of plant growth hormone. Therefore, the observation along the way made him feel that this male teacher must have something unknown to him. These things must be unknown to students, but known to teachers, at least not to most students. Perhaps he is a researcher of a major project, or an official of the Great Wilderness City Hall, or the president of a company. Going to the front line must be for something. At this time, the male teacher went forward as the top of the teams forward, and the Rock Knight and the female teacher could only go back one row, which was enough to prove that Pando's idea was correct. Pando looked around, and several students were not too surprised at this time. After all, it was normal for the male teacher to be special as the person escorting them on this trip. Only the economics boy showed an expression of "I see," and he also observed left and right, and looked at Pando. The two slowly retracted their gazes, and waited for the teacher in front to speak. At this time, the male teacher stood in the front row, and slowly turned around. As he turned around, a slight fluctuation of magic power came. In the process, his appearance also changed. Looking at the male teacher's appearance, everyone was shocked. This, that's physics. Physics bicycle. This face. Pando's classmates were more excited than each other, and Pando was speechless for a while. This is Lin Ke here? Exclamation mark. Dear students, you have performed very well along the way. At this time, Lin Ke restored his original appearance, with a smile on his face, and the background was a noisy and turbulent battlefield. The students tried to calm themselves down one by one. This is Lin Ke. There is no legendary level legend. Lin Ke has even killed many legendary monsters from the stars and the ocean of waves. Although it is with the help of external forces, being able to achieve it with the help of external forces is also a kind of ability. This man directly created the Great Wasteland City and the Lava Territory. Who among those who study at the Great Wasteland University does not admire Lin Ke? Not to mention the Great Wasteland University, even the entire Great Wasteland City, the entire Lava Territory, and the entire NASA. It is estimated that there are a lot of fans. Let alone his inner qualities, even his outer qualities. Duke Lin Ke is as handsome as a star, at least in the eyes of many young girls and young women. As for his inner qualities, Duke Lin Ke can crush his peers in any aspect, and even people in the Middle Ages and ancient times may not be able to match him. How could they not be excited when such a being appeared in front of them? But classmates, we will enter the battlefield next, so we need to restrain ourselves a little, and not be like before. Lin Ke smiled and said, then glanced at Pando. Everyone immediately understood that Lin Ke meant for them not to fight with others like before. After all, it is the front line. If something happens and affects themselves, even if it affects the reputation of the school, it is a small matter. The most feared thing is to have an adverse impact on the front line. Then they will become sinners. At this time, Lin Ke looked at the hyena-shaped Honurus monster in the distance. The energy fluctuation is as high as the starlight level. If it weren't for the legend of the Tataru family among the conifer people taking root here, it is estimated that the grey sand plain would have fallen long ago. Although it can resist after taking root, it is helpless because the distance is too far. The legendary elder of the Tataru family is in a position where he cannot effectively hurt the hyena. Although the hyena is not as strong as the Tataru family elder who has taken root, as long as the distance is right, there is not much danger. Lin Ke used a group viewing technique to check the situation on the battlefield. At this time, there were countless NASA intelligent life forms fighting with some strange looking Honurus life forms on the front line. These Honurus life forms have strange shapes and their auras are very distorted. Wherever they pass, it is as if a drop of ink enters the water, rendering the originally clear water black. Honurus is indeed very strange. Lin Ke thought about it and then looked at the students. You should all have part-time nights, right? The students said yes. Lin Ke nodded and said with a smile, okay, I'll take you to experience what fearlessness is. As he said that, Lin Ke took out his thunder wrist power ball from the space ring and floated above his head, then wrote on physics and stared at the Honurus hyena in the distance. The students were suddenly horrified. What are you doing? The boy from the School of Economics was horrified. Panduo was also a little surprised, and the other few people were speechless. Dear President, it seems that we are just here to visit and experience it, right? Chapter 730. Lin Ke is here. The Rock Knight and the female teacher didn't say much, but sat on their mounts. The female teacher actually has a part-time night. As for the students, one of the selection criteria this time is that they must have a night profession. Even Panduo would have been employed. However, only 2 of the 10 students have mounts, and only they have space rings. The other 8 students obviously don't have as good family conditions as them, so they don't have space rings to use. However, the charge of knights is not only to ride on mounts, but also to charge with legs. But, Master Lin Ke, do we really need to charge? That's a legend. Several students spoke up, and even Panduo couldn't help but dissuade them. That's a legend. Not to mention the legend, these ugly guys, even if they come with a starlight, they can all be knocked away, and they can't even withstand the aftermath of the battle between 2 epic masters. Just lead them to charge. Will the battle between the conifer man and the spider-like hyena be able to directly shock them to death with the shock wave alone? But they immediately looked at the 2 teachers. One was a Rock Knight, a strong man who had long been famous in the continent. The other was even called a witch, a former Grand Master of the Dead. These 2 did not have the slightest opinion on Lin Ke's words. And at this moment, the girl from the Night Academy suddenly said, obey. When this was said, everyone was stunned. The girl said seriously, everyone, students of our Night Academy basically have to go to the battlefield, and on the battlefield, they must obey their superiors. He can become your superior in Dahuang City, not because of relationship, but because of ability. This ability is not just about rank. Just as the military master Mr. Yale said, your superiors basically have a longer term vision, and you may not see what they can see. Of course, even subordinates can make suggestions, but not before the battle on the battlefield, but in the preparation stage. But in short, what we have to do now is to obey. If you let us die, then we will die. I believe I will die for a good cause. If I can live, then I will continue to live and try to live. As soon as these words came out, everyone woke up. They are now on the battlefield. The one in front is Lin Ke. There must be a reason why he can lead them to charge. But, death. Everyone is a little hard to accept. They are students of Dahuang University, with a bright future, and they have families at home, and even their own ideals and future. Just die like this? Our value is not worth it. At this time, Panduo spoke up. Panduo had proved himself in the previous battles, and his words were taken seriously at this time. Everyone immediately reacted after hearing Panduo's words. That's right. Compared to that level of battle, they are indeed insignificant. In other words, when Lin Ke charged, there would be no big difference between them and not having them. So why bring them? Maybe, isn't it to let them take risks? Everyone thought about it and figured it out. Lin Ke was going to do something, and he could bring them with him to do this thing, and he could also bring them back unscathed. It's like, when you go to a fight, a little bit of dust falls on your body, which is insignificant to the fighters, and it doesn't matter whether there is dust or not. But for that little bit of dust, it is a way to get close to the fight. This is not to let them die, but to give them benefits. Take them to truly experience the battlefield in person. At this time, Lin Ke also looked at the female students and Panduo from the Night Academy with approval, and then spoke to everyone again. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are ready, then charge. Everyone responded immediately. Zzzz. The thunder wrist ball above Lin Ke's head burst out plasma, wrapping around them, and forming a shield. At the same time, he held the handlebars of the bicycle, and lowered his body slightly. Physics lit up with rays of light, which were the various secret texts on it. Everyone, follow me. Lin Ke's voice was slightly high. In an instant, Panduo felt that his heart began to get excited, and so did the other 10 students. At the same time, they silently recited those words in their hearts. I will lead the charge. Lin Ke's voice was solemn, and the morale of the 13-member team led by him was immediately high. This sentence. They actually became participants in this sentence. Lin Ke's legend began with this sentence. As a lord, he was able to attract countless followers because of this sentence. I will lead the charge. Just as the Marquis of the Great Sword said, follow me and charge for me are two completely different sentences. The former is a leader, and the latter is a lord. Pando only felt his blood boiling, and he even felt that, if he did not become a physicist in the future but became a knight, to follow Lord Lin Ke to conquer the astral world, it would be fine. No magic or skills are needed to inspire. Sometimes, just one sentence, one word, one look can make a person devote everything. At this time, the inspiring effect of Lin Ke's words completely surpassed those magic and skills that inspire morale in their hearts. The next moment, the team moved forward. At the same time, human arms formed between them. It was the female teacher who was a organic member. At this time, the female teacher used the skill she had used before and generated arms out of thin air. These arms gently held everyone's arms, and they were accompanied by buff magic. The female teacher's task was to act as a connector and connect them all into the team as a whole. Suddenly, each of them felt that there was endless power in their bodies, which was constantly gathering from their arms. Combined with other enhancement magic, those without mounts like Pando can also run fast and keep up with the team. Hundreds of miles, but they arrived in an instant. They were in the air, like a meteor flashing with lightning, rushing down, aiming at the spider-like hyena. Originally, when the Rock Knight was in the lead, the battlefield in the distance was like a stone on the side of the road during World War II, and no one noticed it. But when Lin Ke walked to the front of the team, the surging magic fluctuations immediately affected the battlefield, attracting the attention of countless intelligent beings. Look. What is that? A meteor. Such a powerful magic fluctuation. Is this our epic powerhouse? No, more than that. Shocking. Chapter 731 Spider Hyena. Lin Ke's heart was also boiling at this time. Why did he dare to protect these students and charge? These students are just seedlings at this time, and there is still a gap between them and the towering trees, and there is a world of difference between them and the world tree. However, Lin Ke is sure of victory. He can lead them back unscathed. Boom. Boom. Lin Ke led the entire team through the sky, and the extremely fast speed even produced a sonic boom. At the same time, the heat from a radius of several kilometers converged towards the team, and was completely absorbed by Lin Ke. Skill 0 degree. At the same time, the thunder wrist force ball floating above the team also came to the front of the team, and the energy gathered to form a huge arrowhead. They are like an arrow. Countless intelligent beings on the battlefield saw them, and various strange creatures on Honura's side also saw them. What is that epic strongman going to do? The spider hyena has the strength of the star level. No, stop him. Some strong men above level 15 were shocked after judging Lin Ke's target. The gap between the star level and the epic level is probably about the same as the gap between the epic level and the first level. The gap is too big. Below level 15, it is possible to challenge the opponent above level 15, but it is basically impossible above level 15. The only example in the past 1000 years was Gerosei, who brought 500,000 troops and inspired the original human alliance. But he only repelled a trace of the moon goddess's thoughts. The moon goddess herself was fighting with Wu Mian in another main plane. In theory, a trace of the moon goddess's thoughts is enough to destroy a secondary plane, but Gerosei has the blessing of 500,000 troops and the human alliance from the early ancient times, which can repel it. Otherwise, if it was just Gerosei and Azan's Torrent Legion, it would probably be gone in a few strokes, and 5 million would not be enough. And now, even if there are strong people in the team of more than a dozen people, there is only one level 19 and to level 18 at most, and the one at the top is still level 18 instead of level 19. The opponent is such a powerful existence of the star level, how can he match it? This strong man, stop. That spider hyena is of the starlight level. It's hard to fight. Retreat, retreat. One by one, the strong men rushed up, trying to stop Lin Ke. The legendary conifer man did the same, but when he sensed Lin Ke's breath, he stopped moving, just condensed the earth element in his hand, as if brewing a big move. At this time, Lin Ke had already surpassed the legendary conifer man and those strong men. But when those strong men saw Lin Ke's appearance, they all stopped. This face is not Andrew's leg, Duke Lin Ke. No, Duke Lin Ke is stupid. That's the starlight level. Get out, you are stupid. Lord Lin Ke must have his own judgment. But the people around him don't seem to be his followers. Didn't the great wilderness knights come? The strong men saw Lin Ke's appearance and stopped in the air again, not knowing what to do. Lin Ke was stupid. Basically, he had never been stupid. If he rushed forward like this, he would not be able to kill the spider hyena, but at least he would be able to protect himself. If he could protect himself, follow the steps of Lord Lava and attack. The voice of the conifer man came out in a mighty voice. Then, the strong men also reacted one by one. Attack. Originally, they had been defending, but now that Lin Ke was charging in front, attacking was the best choice. Catch them off guard. So the armies that were just on the defensive now took action one by one, and there were also human teams among them. Charge. 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 The earls and viscounts of the Black and White Kingdom led their knights to charge out. Awoo. The Frost Wolves formed a bunch of wolf packs, and under the leadership of their respective wolf kings, they served as flexible and mobile flanks to protect the human race. Along with the human race, there were also some wild boars, bears, and ice crystal giant deer. As soon as they rushed out of the protection range of the magic circle, they encountered a bunch of Honieroslives. Kill. Roar. The two armies exchanged, and countless casualties occurred immediately. At high altitude, Lin Ke's arrival naturally attracted the attention of the spider hyena. Wow. The spider hyena's big mouth that split the whole body opened, revealing a sharp foot that looked like a tongue and an eighth leg, and it shot towards this side fiercely. Lin Ke naturally saw this scene. He shouted softly, "Katana." Suddenly, the eyes of Rock Knight Katana behind him on the left burst into a pale yellow light. He rode his bicycle mount that looked like a motorcycle, and instantly took out a huge emerald green hammer from the space ring, and then slammed towards the pitch black giant foot. Rock Knight, skill, breaking hammer. Bang. The breaking hammer formed a giant hammer phantom, which collided with the giant foot, and made a loud noise. But the energy of the explosion was completely absorbed by Lin Ke. Roar. The spider hyena did not seem to be angry about the ineffectiveness of this attack, but opened the 10-fingered palms on the top of the feet on its back, like blooming buds. Several feet stabbed towards Lin Ke, piercing the air, and leaving many space cracks along the way. Powerful. Panduo and other students were a little nervous, but under Lin Ke's leadership, they could only move forward. And Lin Ke. At this time, Lin Ke's eyes were gushing with powerful energy, because he had just absorbed too much energy, and he could only vent it in this way. The bicycle under his seat was also running at full capacity. When the distance was enough, Lin Ke gathered a lot of energy and transferred it to the thunder wrist ball in front. Skill, overheating. Boom. A beam of light that covered the sky and the sun shot straight towards the top of the spider hyena's head. Stupid Nasm. The spider hyena opened its mouth and roared, and the Nasan common language in its mouth was very strange. But it did not prevent Lin Ke's attack from hitting him. But he didn't care, and resisted the attack. Lin Ke's overheating caused the spider hyena's head to be torn, but the skin and flesh closed again later. At this time, Lin Ke finally led the team to collide with those giant feet. Even the legendary conifer elders could not do anything to this giant foot, which was enough to show how tough it was. However, Lin Ke did not choose to fight head on, but threw a glass bottle directly into the mouth of the spider hyena below, and then quickly turned around to avoid a head-on collision. Throwing something away. The students were puzzled, and countless people were also puzzled. Seeing that the two sides were about to fight, Lin Ke threw a bottle that inexplicably had no magical reaction, and then went back. What does it mean? Chapter 732 Nuclear Explosion. Dominate the strike. Lin Ke desperately ran back, and the people in the team were silent. Not to mention Panduo, even the other two teachers were full of doubts and curiosity. What exactly did Lin Ke throw down just now? A few kilometers passed in a flash. Lin Ke looked back, silently calculated, and then laughed. Haha. Let them see the power of our great wasteland city. As he said that, Lin Ke mobilized the magic power in his body and hooked the bottle thrown down in the distance. Suddenly, his eyes burst out with a slightly green light, and he looked back in the direction of the spider hyena. The bottle he just threw just now just fell into the mouth of the spider hyena. However, the mouth of the spider hyena is different from the life on Natsing's side. His mouth is thick and dark, and basically nothing can be seen. When the bottle was about to fall into the darkness, Lin Ke instantly activated his skills. Skill. Nuclear explosion. As soon as Lin Ke's voice fell, a huge explosion broke out in the distance, accompanied by the release of terrifying light. In this light, the powerful star-level spider hyena turned into ashes without even a roar. Seeing this shocking scene, countless intelligent beings were speechless. Boom. And along with the white light, there were waves of shockwaves. Around the spider hyena, countless Honurus lives also turned into dust. Whether it was a life similar to level 15 or a life similar to level 18, none of them could resist this power. In the core area, large and small void cracks and star cracks appeared alternately. The crystal wall of the grey sand plane trembled slightly, and the laws of the entire plane were wailing. This skill actually directly damaged the crystal wall of the plane. The nuclear energy here is indeed more terrifying than in the previous life. Lin Ke watched this scene and sped up a bit. At this time, the other people in the team looked back and looked at Lin Ke again, their eyes full of disbelief. Such a terrifying skill! Exclamation mark. The students immediately understood the meaning of the phrase level does not mean everything more deeply from another aspect. They advanced at full speed and then retreated at full speed. The distance was more than 100 kilometers, but they still felt a shockwave. Haha, everyone, this is the skill nuclear explosion that Granny Zise has developed for the chemist. As long as the conditions are met, the power is roughly equivalent to a dominant level attack, but the conditions are also very harsh. Lin Ke introduced this skill. This is naturally the skill that he and Granny Zise had developed before, a skill specifically used for nuclear bombs. Granny Zise had developed this skill before, and she almost killed a level 25 Lord God clone of the Holy Life Alliance. Later, he learned from Emperor Wumian and others that the lords such as Emperor Wumian had gathered together because of this, because they all thought that a new lord was born. The power of a nuclear bomb is comparable to a dominant level attack. Of course, this may be because the uranium element here is also different from that in the previous life, such as the difference in magic power. But in short, a skill above level 15, as long as it is matched with uranium ore, can produce power comparable to that of a dominant level, which is still very terrifying. Which lord did not achieve it through untold hardships? The reason why the Holy Life Alliance dominated Nasan was because there were 5 dominant level strongmen who suppressed everything. With such a being, a level 15 professional can exert a force comparable to its attack. How can this not be shocking? Of course, everyone was listening to Lin Ke's explanation at this time. Lin Ke would not say such a thing. He only said that this was a secret skill, and only he and Granny Zise knew it at the moment. Otherwise, the world would probably be in chaos. However, everyone listened to Lin Ke's words, and when they heard Lin Ke say that it could be comparable to the master, they didn't want to listen anymore. No matter how harsh the conditions for successfully using this skill are, it is always easier than becoming a master or a legendary, right? If such a skill is used for self-protection, revenge, or other things. By the way, this skill also indiscriminately damages. Even if you meet the requirements I mentioned above, you have to run fast enough, otherwise. Lin Ke looked behind him, and there was naturally a hell on earth. Countless broken limbs and arms were lying on the ground in a bloody mess. Some of the lives of Honurus who were lucky enough to resist the shockwave, because they were the vanguard, were fighting with Nasan's army. In the direction they just fled, powerful radiation and energy aftermath were tearing apart the rules of time and space in the grey sand plane. Several life forms similar to the elementalized Honurus were screaming in pain. After their bodies were elementalized, they were trying to resist the radiation, but they were slowly dying in this resistance. Lin Ke turned around and looked behind him. Classmates, your next task is to experience the front line and record it all so that those well-off young masters and young ladies in the university know what is going on the front line. By the way, who among you is responsible for recording with the photo stone? The scene just now can also be recorded so that Nasan can hear how terrifying the roar of our great desert city is. Well, this sentence can also be recorded. Lin Ke rode his bicycle as if he was taking a walk, and the thunder wrist force ball above his head slowly floated, and the plasma flowed to protect everyone. Then, under the gaze of the three teachers, the students were silent for a second. Fuck, I forgot. Damn it, damn it, damn it. Didn't we agree to start recording as soon as we entered the battlefield range? 10 students began to feel annoyed. It was so tense and exciting just now. They even felt like they were experiencing life and death in the past few minutes. When they rushed to the sky above the Xinghu class, their hearts almost jumped out. How could they have time to think about all those messed up things? At that time, there were only 2 words in their minds: life or death. Of course, it could also be 4 words. But in short, they didn't record or film it. And the few minutes just now may be almost as exciting as their entire lives. They didn't even film it? Exclamation mark. Even as the geniuses of Dahuang University, the 10 of them couldn't help but lose their composure. Lin Ke looked at this scene and was suddenly speechless. Then he took out a bead from his neck and threw it to the economics boy. Here, this is a record from the beginning, when we set out, including your conflict with the ice crystal giant deer cub, to the present. Oh, it's still open. As he spoke, Lin Ke looked at the coniferous tree man that was dozens of meters tall, nodded from a distance, and continued. For the next task, you will listen to the arrangements of the 2 teachers. By the way, remember to give the photo stone to John when you use it up. I'll be busy now. After speaking, Lin Ke left the team and flew to the legendary elder of the Tataru family. Chapter 733 Present and Future. The students looked at each other, feeling a little embarrassed. The boy from the School of Economics, as the highest level, took the photo stone, turned off the recording, and then looked at the others. Then let's start recording, and then merge them together, and delete the inappropriate ones. The boy from the School of Economics said. As the highest level, Lin Ke threw this thing to him, so of course he had to keep it well. Pando and the others had no objection. Finally, the Rock Knight took them all the way down, staring at the fighting Honurus creatures below, and said in a deep voice, the first lesson on the battlefield is to fight. As he said that, he took them down, and joined the battle between the 2 sides. The 10 pandas also had their magic fluctuating, and their expressions were serious. The battle now was different from the one just now. The one just now was more like watching the scenery, but now, the 10 students were about to join the battle. Mr. Lover, Elder Ki. At this time, Lin Ke floated in front of the elder of the Tataconifer people clan, and hammered his chest to show respect. He dealt with the star level spider hyena, so he naturally didn't need to worry about the ordinary strong men that followed. What he wanted to discuss at this time was naturally a way to completely eliminate the Honurus forces from the Grey Sand Plain. There are currently more than a dozen secondary plains bordering the front line, but the most severely affected one is the Grey Sand Plain, because the Grey Sand Plain is bordered by Honurus plains on all sides. So there is a steady stream of Honurus troops entering from the gap in the Grey Sand Plain. However, Nasan is not a vegetarian either, and he surrounded the plains outside the Grey Sand Plain. Then the plains outside surrounded it layer by layer. In this way, more than a dozen plains affect each other layer by layer, and no one can do anything to anyone. But if the Grey Sand Plain has a breakthrough, then the other plains can also have a breakthrough. Of course, now it is at most a competition between some beings below the legendary level, and the legendary and star level are strategic deterrents. Under the layers of siege, it will be difficult to enter and exit the Grey Sand Plain. If a legendary being came from Honurus, Nasan would certainly intercept him. If it came from Nasan, it would be the same. Unfortunately, Honurus didn't know that Nasan had Lin Ke. Therefore, Lin Ke's unexpected attack directly destroyed the starlight in the Grey Sand Plain. The next thing to do is to eliminate the remaining influence from Honurus and then counterattack other plains. Lava, your skill. At this time, Ki Tataru pointed over there with some confusion, and there was a hint of solemnity in his eyes. The skill just now was so powerful. Ki could feel that, even if he was at the center of that skill, he couldn't resist such a powerful skill. What's more, it was just a starlight level being. Sorry, that is a secret of Dahuang City. Lin Ke apologized. Yes. Cui also knew that such a powerful skill must be confidential, so she didn't ask any more questions, and then continued, Mr. Lava, the counterattack of the Grey Sand Plain will be handed over to you. As for me, I will stay here. Yes. Lin Ke nodded, and he also respected the conifer man who sacrificed himself to preserve the family plane in front of him. Then we need to hand over. They immediately started talking. The two army commanders hand over. Naturally they need to understand each other, especially for each other's troops. After more than a day, Lin Ke also mastered more detailed information about the Grey Sand Plain. Compared with the information provided by John before, he also roughly understood the situation of the Grey Sand Plain. In general, although the situation of the Grey Sand Plain is bad, the most bad point is the spider hyena. The previous legendary and star level existences were all in other planes. Only this plane is where Elder Cui is rooted. Although it is stable, it also has less possibility of breaking through. So only the spider hyenas are used here to contain the Grey Sand Plain. Although the Grey Sand Plain will not be breached at the moment, it is only a matter of time before Honurus makes progress in other planes in the future. Now, the Grey Sand Plain has become a breakthrough point. Lin Ke thought about it one by one, and then made a layout. As a leader, he should be sensitive to these things by nature, and this is exactly the case. With Lin Ke's participation, the Grey Sand Plain is gathering waves of forces to prepare for a counterattack against Honurus. Without the spider hyenas, Honurus will also react quickly. They will counterattack within the next few days. Bethel Bear people, Black and White people, Fire Banshees, Phoenixes, Hosmer Ice Crystal Giant Deer. One race after another gathered in the Grey Sand Plain and obeyed Lin Ke's dispatch. And 1,000 miles away from the legendary conifer man Cui, it has been filled with nuclear radiation. Further east of this area, it is still occupied by Honurus. There, even under the crystal wall of the plane, there are large groups of distorted rules. That was the main plane rule that was completely different from Nasanj. It was brought here by the strong men of Honurus and distorted the laws of this area. However, these distorted Honurus laws were easy to eliminate. Just let the elemental life, that is, the existence above level 15, come and use skills to eliminate them. Lin Ke spent a few days, with the help of the power of leader, to remember all the powers of the Grey Sand Plain, and got to know all the commanders of various troops from level 19 to the captains of 10 teams. If it was in the previous life, let alone a few days, it might take several months to remember it. But now Lin Ke remembered it. Now, everything is ready, only the east wind is missing. A few days later, a person came. A young man in a black tuxedo and a tall hat came to this plane, and then quickly rushed to the position of Elder Ki. And following him was a bunny man who also looked gentle and refined, with two ears hanging softly behind his head. Behind the bunny man came out teams of intelligent beings in white robes. After they came out, they flew to the distance one by one, and their destination was Elder Ki's place. The young rabbit man came to the young man in the tuxedo and asked, John, isn't Sophie coming? These two people were John and Nix. John smiled and said, yes, Sophie has other things to do, and so does Rami. What about yours? I persuaded him to stop. Nix was a little helpless, and then looked into the distance. The war in the main plane. I hope we won't lose. John also looked into the distance, where was the base of Honurus in the Grey Sand Plain, and smiled and said, no, we have His Majesty Wumian, and we also have the young master. Nix was also certain, when he heard this. If Emperor Wumian represents the present, then Lin Ke represents the future. Chapter 734 Field Doctor. After Elder Ki took root, the roots became a very wide area with tangled roots. In this complex root knot, teams were walking back and forth. Some special legendary lives can become shelters for other lives. And Elder Ki's body is like this. As a legend, his entire body has turned into a giant tree tens or hundreds of meters tall, and many tribes live under his protection. At least in the Grey Sand Plain, this is the safest place. If even Elder Ke can't resist, the Grey Sand Plain will probably be annihilated. Therefore, many troops from Nasang live here, including Lin Ke. Lin Ke was standing on a branch at this time, looking into the distance. Lava, your people are here. At this time, Elder Ke's voice sounded in Lin Ke's mind. Lin Ke retracted his gaze and looked back in another direction. There, a line of small black dots were rushing over, and the ones at the front were Nix with snow white hair and John in a black suit. After the black and white, there were people wearing white coats riding various flying objects. This is a battlefield medical team of the Great Wasteland City. What is the most important thing in a protracted war? Of course, it is the nanny. In continuous combat, medical conditions are very important. The battles in the Grey Sand Plain are not just battles of element and laws above level 15, but also ordinary battles below level 15. In this kind of battle, what would happen if a group of nannies joined? Wounded, my intestines are flowing out. Nanny, put them back, I'll give you a healing spell. Wounded, my hands and feet are broken. And they were lost on the battlefield. Nanny, it's a bit troublesome, I'll give you a regeneration spell. Remember to go down and replenish meat, eggs and milk. Wounded, my brother's head fell off. Grandma, go and ask Mr. Nix. So, as long as there is a nanny, the loss of troops can be greatly reduced. Death becomes serious injury becomes minor injury, and minor injury heals by itself. It can greatly retain the living force of the Grey Sand Plain. And Nix can be regarded as one of the representatives of Nasang medicine at this time. Although Nix's level is not high, many of his skills are not as good as those of high level, witch doctor, and sacrificial priest. However, among the same level, Nix's medical ability can completely beat them. In addition to medical skills, Nix can also use the knowledge in the herb encyclopedia to treat even ordinary means. Just like when someone has a cold and fever, Nix can use skills to cure it instantly, or make corresponding herbs to cure it. This is something that pioneered the era. Like before, when Lin Ke was sick as a child, Feudal could only ask a witch doctor to treat the disease. But now, at least there are many hospitals and pharmacies in the Great Wasteland City. This has greatly increased the survival rate of intelligent life. Many research laboratories are also specialized in pharmacology, including physics, chemistry and biology colleges, and there are also specialized medical disciplines. In addition to the Great Wasteland City, other newly built cities certainly have their own medical teams. At this time, it was not the normal hospital doctors and nurses who came to the Grey Sand Plain, but the battlefield doctors and nurses. These doctors and nurses are specially trained and set up specifically for war. On the battlefield, there is no time to wait for you to prepare sterile rooms, scalpels, etc. Just stuff the intestines back in and then use a healing spell to fix it. Because the battlefield changes rapidly, every second of delay will bring a second of danger. These battlefield doctors and nurses have been trained in the secondary plane, so they naturally have good skills. They can withstand the intensity of low-intensity battlefields, and they can also experience a little in high-intensity battlefields and gradually adapt. Thinking of this, Lin Ke also flew up and flew to John and Nix to greet them. Lin Ke's flying speed was not slow, and he also had air pressure skills, so he came here in a while. John, Nix, is the situation outside okay? Lin Ke didn't say much and was straightforward. John and Nix came forward and stood side by side with Lin Ke and then began to briefly talk about the recent situation outside, but nothing big happened. It was stable and stable. As for the professionals behind them, they all followed Lin Ke and the others to Cuye. Seeing Cuye, everyone was naturally amazed. After all, there are many coniferous tree people, and many of them have taken root, but they are still rare to see the power of legendary level after taking root, or they have never seen it at all. Tree people tens of meters high were taller than many office buildings in Lin Ke's previous life. And this does not include the size of the tree crown and the root system. John, Yale is lost in the territory of Honduras, and we need the two of us to integrate the team. Hey, your Lalita didn't come? Lin Ke said to John, and then looked at Nix. You know, Lalita is the kind of person who is afraid of chaos in the world, and likes to fight the most. She. Nix's face suddenly turned red and didn't continue. The three of them had already arrived at the root system of the green leaf and walked towards the inside. Lin Ke couldn't help but smile when he saw Nyx blushing. You blushed when you were a child. You were very shy and you loved to cry. It's been so many years. Why are you blushing again? Master, Lalita is pregnant, John said with a smile at this time, and it's triplets. Lalita is pregnant? Exclamation mark. Triplets? Lin Ke stopped, widened his eyes, a little surprised, and then subconsciously asked, are they rabbits, humans, or rabbit men? It turns out that rabbit men and humans really don't have reproductive isolation. Master. Hearing Lin Ke's rash question, Nyx was helpless, but still answered. I asked her, biologist, to look at the three boys. All of them are rabbit men. 3 rabbit men. It seems that Nyx genes are stronger? Or what? But now that Nyx has offspring, Lin Ke, as a brother, is naturally very happy. It's good that she didn't come. Take good care of the baby. Lin Ke smiled and patted Nyx's shoulder. Your mother is there to take care of her, so we can rest assured. Then, he looked at John again. How is it? Can it be solved? Yes, I'll take responsibility, John said. Before that Yale kid grows up, wasn't it me who took care of him? Come on. Lin Ke glanced at him. Uncle Billy is responsible. You and Nyx are hiding all day eating, drinking, and fishing. No way. The three of them chatted while leading the team into the root system of the tree and then came to a combat command room. There is a topographic map of the entire Grey Sand Plain, as well as some rough military force distribution. What needs to be done now is to divide the medical team into small pieces and place them in each team to ensure the maximum rescue efficiency. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 735 The Eve of the Battle. Looking at the huge sand table in front of them, John and Nyx fell into thought. This is the main area of Honurus. After Lord Lin Ke killed the spider hyena, most of the existing Honurus life escaped here. At this time, a conifer man next to the three of them pointed to a place on the sand table, where a large area was directly stained with grey and black. This conifer man came to give John and Nyx a general introduction. In the area between the Honurus area and us, there are still the aftermath of Lord Link's skills. Those powers are very powerful. At this point, the 15th level conifer man looked at Lin Ke with admiration and sighed. Some Honurus life entered the area of the skill aftermath caused by Lord Link and directly caused powerful burning damage. Lord Link deserves the name of lava. The tone of this conifer man was very respectful. In the eyes of many people who don't know, the reason why Lin Ke is called the Duke of Lava may be because Lin Ke's power comes from lava. In fact, it was true when Phaser was live streaming before. Lin Ke often transformed into a look similar to the Fire Demon King and called himself the Fire Demon King. However, in fact, Lin Ke's title of Duke did not come from his power, but from the place where he was, the lava swamp. The lava swamp was so huge that it was much larger than the territory of Azane. So Lin Ke, who was awarded the title, directly became the Duke of Lava, the Duke who ruled the lava swamp. However, Lin Ke did not correct the conifer man in front of him at this time. After all, the title was not important. He could not explain it to someone who misunderstood his title. That would be exhausting. As for the burning damage mentioned by the conifer man, that's nuclear radiation. Thinking of this, Lin Ke explained to John and Nyx at this time. Not only the life form of Honurus, but also the life form of Nasan. Some strong men from Nasan have tried it. If they are not specially protected, nuclear radiation will also have an effect on them. Radiation refers to the phenomenon that part of the electromagnetic energy emitted by the emission source, that is, electromagnetic waves, etc., is separated from the field source and propagated to a distance, and then no longer returns to the field source. The energy diffuses outward in the form of electromagnetic waves or particles, such as alpha particles and beta particles. In the previous life, all objects, as long as the temperature is above absolute zero, that is, about -273.15 degrees Celsius, constantly transmit heat to the outside in the form of electromagnetic waves and particles. This way of transmitting energy is called thermal radiation. In other words, Lin Ke can also absorb these radiations. He tried, but he couldn't absorb too much, otherwise it would be easy to eat too much, so it was very easy for them to clean up the nuclear radiation. This is the only barrier between the Honurus stronghold and Eldekiai, but this artificial barrier is easy to clear. In this case, we can use this barrier to sneak in. John immediately began to think. The three began to discuss the matters of this attack. A few days later, at this time, there were dense troops standing around Eldekiai, all looking at Lin Ke standing in the sky. Under Lin Ke, John opened his 5 fingers, and the faint white light connected every captain and above. Lin Ke's order will be passed to John, and then John will pass it on. At the same time, John can distribute power. If there is a crisis in the East team will be strengthened, and if there is a crisis in the West will be added. He can also add the power of the entire army to Lin Ke. Before Lin Ke came up with the profession of military commander, the previous battles were all fought by the Lord with Butler. The army composed of the Lord, Butler, and various knights is enough to sweep across the secondary plane. At this time, Lin Ke stood high in the sky, trying to brew something. At the same time, on the ground, the team of Dahuang University was also incorporated into the logistics team. If there is a chance, you can fight. If there is no chance, just watch the battle from behind. After all, they are students. The important thing is to grow into a strong person, not to kill a few Honurus lives. Killing after growing into a strong person in the future will be much better than killing when you are weak. Principal Lin Ke is so handsome. At this time, the girl next to Panduo couldn't help but have stars in her eyes when she looked at Lin Ke in the sky. This sentence was heard by the teacher in front, so the female teacher turned around and smiled. Of course. Your teacher will also pursue your principal in the future. Well, the most handsome person in the whole Dahuang University is Lin Ke, and those other men are not considered men. In the future, I will be the principal's wife, one of the principal's wives. Haha, ha ha ha. The female teacher began to let herself go after she revealed her former identity as a undead mage. The rock knight next to her, who was not considered a man in the mouth of the female teacher, did not say a word, and the other students were speechless for a while, until Panduo asked weakly, "But teacher, do you think Lord John is not a man either?" After this period of time, they have become familiar with each other, so they often joke with each other. The rock knight and the female teacher are also very down to earth, so the teacher and student get along very well. John is not bad, just a little less masculine. The female teacher couldn't help but choke when she heard Panduo's words. So, Pando said again, "What about Lord Dorf? And the Dean of the Knight Academy, and the Dean of the Chemistry College? By the way, do you know the legendary strongman Lord Frenido? And, is Mr. Rock also?" Before she finished speaking, the female teacher couldn't help but punch Pando. "You kid, you were silent when we just met, but you turned out to be a sultry guy. Shut up." The other students couldn't help laughing. At first, they were all very restrained and gradually let go. And like Pando, at the beginning, he was like a silent killing god, and he had a record of killing void star beasts, and he also defeated the young master of the ice crystal giant deer. Who knew that? After getting to know each other, everyone found out that Pando was a sultry guy with a particularly cheap mouth. Well, what I just said does not include you. Of course you are a man. At this time, the female teacher looked at the rock knight again, touched her head and said embarrassedly. The rock knight was even more silent after hearing this. "I don't want to talk, I'm hurt. If you ask me, teacher, you can pursue Lord Lin Ke, so can I." The girl from the Knight Academy also spoke up. "Hey, I can, too." Another girl said so. The other boys suddenly felt uncomfortable and had a strange feeling. But when they thought about it being Lin Ke, they felt relieved. At this moment, the Rock Knight suddenly said, "Get ready." Chapter 736 Macring. In the sky, Lin Ke, who had been standing still with his eyes closed, suddenly opened his eyes and looked into the distance. In an instant, all the living beings on the battlefield felt that the atmosphere suddenly changed. From the undercurrent, it suddenly became murderous. And the reason was simply because Lin Ke opened his eyes. Is it about to start? Lord Lin Ke's speech? Of course it is. Every time there is a pre-war mobilization, the principal will say a lot of classic quotes, and this time is definitely the same. I don't know what the Duke will say with his literary talent. I'm looking forward to it. In the back position, Pando and the others suddenly became excited. No matter which battle, as long as Lin Ke is the commander, he will give a speech. No matter which speech, it is very inspiring. Even if they are students who hear it in class, they can seem to see the original scene. Whether it is the Lava Swamp Warcraft War, the Forest Cabin War, or some other meetings, speeches, etc. When the students see those nascent universal characters, it is as if they are on the scene, feeling Lin Ke's mood at the time and the battlefield at the time. At this time, these 10 students have begun to look forward to it. Not to mention them, even other lives in the army were looking forward to it. After all, who in Nassen doesn't know Lin Ke now? However, Lin Ke didn't speak at this time. Until, boom. In the distance, a loud noise came from the base camp of Honduras, as if responding to Lin Ke's gaze. A thick black and grey fog suddenly appeared there, and a terrifying roar came from the fog. I devour everything. Honduras life and Nassen life have the ability to understand each other's language. At this time, the unknown existence of Honduras used the common language of Nassen. Starlight level? How can there be another starlight level? Is it hidden? Or the latest one? This is a variable. The officers and commanders on the battlefield immediately discussed it, and their faces changed. Before, a starlight level had blocked them for a long time, because there were no starlight level strongmen here, and even there were few beings above level 15. This resulted in them having to passively hide under Elder Cuie to defend. If Lin Ke hadn't arrived, they would have faced a situation equivalent to 7 against 10. However, because Lin Ke destroyed the Starlight class spider hyena that was harassing Cuie with a nuclear explosion, their situation was now similar to 7 against 2. Only 2 out of 10 survived. Only 2 out of 10 survived in Honduras army. With such an advantage, although the strange and terrifying aura was blowing in their faces, Nassen's army was not particularly afraid. One commander after another began to use their skills to stabilize morale or resist the pressure. On the opposite side, the unknown Starlight class creature gradually emerged from the black fog. It turned out to be a huge mollusk similar to an octopus. Lin Ke had seen similar creatures many times, and basically saw them when he followed the Sleepless Emperor to fight. Their suckers were sharp teeth with fangs, or dark flesh butts, or weird eyeballs. But Lin Ke roughly guessed that this might be the intelligent life race under the influence of Honduras' rules. Just like the human form, perhaps many creatures over there, under the influence of the rules, are in the shape of an octopus. The octopus-shaped creature is dozens of meters tall, almost comparable to Elder Cuie. The upper part of the body is composed of hundreds of tiny flesh-colored buds flying freely, with special mouth pits at the tip, full of sharp teeth. The lower part is a dozen thick tentacles, and the tips of the tentacles are also tiny buds, like a bunch of grass made of human flesh. Roar. The life of Honduras roared, and the sound was transmitted mightily, followed by a strong breath of oppression. Weird, disgusting, crazy. A bunch of people on Nassen's side suddenly felt that huge oppression, and even their hearts almost stopped beating. That's the star level. It's more than enough to massacre an entire weaker secondary plane. Except for some powerful professionals. Professionals below level 10 only felt like they were falling into an ice cave, including Pando and the others. Pando's pupils shrank immediately, as if he had returned to the time when he faced the Void Star Beast. Weak, fearful, and helpless. However, at this moment, a loud and clear voice sounded from the sky. I will lead the charge. The voice was exciting and high-pitched, and it also carried a hint of a resolute will to sacrifice. In an instant, countless people in Nassen looked up. They saw that Lin Ke had become a luminous body, and the endless radiation energy was absorbed by him from the land in front of him, and finally turned into dazzling light and surging energy. Just like a sun. Kill, kill, kill. The knight's way home is the battlefield. Charge, charge, charge. The troops who were originally intimidated by the opponent's momentum suddenly boiled up at this moment, and the atmosphere just now disappeared without a trace. Pando and the others were the same, and they almost burst into tears at this moment. No long speeches, no pre-war mobilization. Just one sentence: lead the charge. They are willing to follow that person's figure. Life and faith can be entrusted to that duke. The next moment, Lin Ke moved. His figure was like a comet, carrying terrifying light and heat energy, and smashing towards the distant star-level Honurus life. It was so powerful that it directly tore a large void crack. When he rushed towards the star-level Honurus life, circles of blue flame rings appeared behind him. Macring! Pando exclaimed. As a student of the School of Physics, Pando immediately saw what it was. Macring. Macring is a bright, dazzling, diamond-shaped shockwave ejected from the tail of rocket engines, scramjets, etc. when they work in the atmosphere. Rockets and airplanes need to eject supersonic airflow to obtain powerful thrust. The ejected supersonic airflow has a high pressure, so when it is ejected from the nozzle into the atmosphere, it will expand directly, but the pressure of the expanded airflow will be lower than the atmospheric pressure, so it will be compressed again. In this way, the supersonic airflow will cycle back and forth between expansion and compression, and this process will form expansion waves and compression waves. The two waves will meet and overlap during the propagation process, forming a series of rings, that is, Mach rings. Lin Ke's attack actually produced Mach rings, and there were a lot of them. Pando was shocked. Everyone saw that the blue and white Mach rings hit the Honurus life form in the grey fog in an instant. Boom. A loud noise. Chapter 737 Star Level Honurus Law. Lin Ke crashed over with great force. What are his skills? Mechanics, thermodynamics, optics, electromagnetism. At this time, Lin Ke not only used almost all his skills, but also handed over a quarter of his magic power. How rich is Lin Ke's magic power reserve? As a powerful talent beyond Andrew, the reason why he is now promoted at the same speed as John and Nix is not because his talent is poor, nor is it because John and his talents are too good. There are two reasons. One is that he has many part-time jobs, and the other is because the magic power he can accommodate is too huge. If normal people are water bottles and cups, and John and his friends are lakes and rivers, then Lin Ke is at the level of the solar system. Of course, this is just an exaggeration, otherwise the legends are probably at the level of the Milky Way, but it does represent the gap. From the day he started meditating until now, he has never been exhausted of magic power. Even when he was 6 or 7 years old, he could bear a huge amount of magic power. This is his talent. At this time, even with his magic power storage, he needs to consume a quarter, so you can imagine how powerful his skills are when combined. Boom. At this time, he rushed down, carrying the physical laws he understood, and crashed straight over. On the other side, the life form of Honurus ejected a thicker black mist from the fleshy buds of its tentacles. On the ground, there were even more strange shaped lives that shot into his tentacles, like raindrops flowing backwards, and then turned into a thicker and stickier black mist. This is also a kind of law. There is no distinction between up and down, big and small, and high and low in the law. Whoever comprehends more is stronger. At this time, Lin Ke and the star-level existence of Honurus collided with each other, and the laws of both sides began to collide wildly. Thunder and lightning shot out from Lin Ke's side, and all the heat within a radius of 10 miles was absorbed by Lin Ke, creating a huge energy vacuum zone. Combined with the previous nuclear energy, this caused Lin Ke's skin to crack a little, and faintly revealed the light green fluorescence in it. Nuclear energy. At this time, Lin Ke had already transformed into a rule body, and the entire human body had become a rule aggregate. Otherwise it would be impossible to bear such a huge amount of energy with flesh and blood. Normal elemental bodies probably wouldn't work either, because such a huge amount of energy was completely beyond the epic level. Fortunately, Lin Ke was an epic rule body. Eat you. Raw. Kill you. Nasang's son. 4 or 5 voices came out of the body of the Honurus star-level octopus. These genderless voices overlapped, and were full of tyranny and chaos. As the octopus became furious, his tentacles began to dance wildly, and a large amount of black mist was ejected from them again, covering the sky and the earth. At the same time, a shadow that covered the sky and the sun appeared behind him. It was an extremely huge eyeball with hundreds of layers of superimposed red pupils, covered with bloodshot vision. The vision of this Honurus octopus turned out to be a shadow of some unknown existence. Lin Ke's eyes were cold, and a huge amount of white light gushed out of his eyes, and the blood in his soul trembled slightly. But the sky trembled slightly, and then a red color erupted with Lin Ke as the center, vast and boundless. Red vision. Or should I call it lava vision? I heard that Lord Lin Ke's vision can suppress the legend. Now I know how terrifying it is. On Nassen's side, many people have not moved yet, because Lin Ke has not yet delivered the order. But at this time, they are naturally very excited to see Lin Ke's vision. At this time, the power of the laws of the two sides is equal, and the energy collision is difficult to distinguish. However, when the visions of the two sides collided, the vision that many people called lava directly crushed over, and the phantom of Honorius's eyeballs shattered and dissipated on the spot. Raw. Honorius's life spirit suffered a severe blow, his body trembled violently, and his body tended to become transparent. It can be vaguely seen that this is not a complete star brilliance level, but an aggregate of countless Honorius lives. At this time, after Lin Ke gained the advantage, he stayed in the sky, threw out the thunder wrist ball, and floated in the air, and endless thunder rolled down with the magma, killing the Honorius life hidden in the black fog below. Then it shot out quickly, like a comet, and hit the star-level Honorius life that had just flown backwards. Boom. The Honorius octopus, which was originally transparent, was hit in an instant. This time, there was no evenly matched confrontation. Instead, the Honorius octopus directly disintegrated into endless black mist. Lin Ke was emitting intense light all over his body, standing in the air. Those lights were not ordinary lights, but pierced through the black mist and the Honorius monsters in the black mist like sharp swords. Skill Sword of Light. This skill is also one of the skills in the Black and White Royal Treasury, and it is a skill that can only be released by the star level. Before, Lin Ke emptied her own treasury and filled it with the Great Library, which also increased Lin Ke's skill reserves. Otherwise, he would not be able to create so many skills, even if he was an inventor. All his skills come from his own creations, which is also one of the sources of his strength. And the skill of the Holy Sword of Light was also experienced by Lin Ke in the past. Whether it was the Moon Goddess or the Great Prince, they had used this skill at the time. The eldest prince possesses the artifact 3 primary colors ball, which can reflect and refract the power of light. Lin Ke's light skills are inspired by the eldest prince. The Moon Goddess can directly transform the moonlight into a series of bright holy swords on the projection of the moon. The entire Nassang, as long as the moonlight shines, is within his attack range. The Sun God also has this skill, but it was acquired at a great cost many years ago. At this time, although Lin Ke cannot compare with the Sun God and the Moon Goddess, or even the eldest prince, but he is also like a bright star hanging high in the sky, radiating a series of bright holy swords, clearing away other laws here. While releasing this skill, Lin Ke turned his head to look at the location of the black fog that had just been defeated. There, a group of grey-black sand-like things were floating up and down. Starlight Law? Lin Ke narrowed his eyes. Starlight level existences either have starlight level laws or starlight level divinity. This represents the two paths of professionals and gods. Now it seems that the star level law appeared in Honorius instead of divinity, so they must have a cultivation method that is very different from the path of the gods. In addition to professionals and gods, Nassen finally found the third path to the highest. Strictly speaking, it is 3.5. I heard that the road in another continent, or another main plane use, is half a road, which is rich in legends, but cannot reach the master. At this time, the opportunity to study the road contained in the Honorius plane has come. Chapter 738 3 Aircraft Carriers. Pursue the victory. Although the war has been going on for a long time, it has never become a full-scale war. At least it is difficult to see the appearance of the Honorius life form, and you need to teleport to the grey sand plane. Not to mention fighting. Unlike the previous life, they have been merging and understanding each other for many years. Even if they fight, they know each other very well, what each other looks like, what standard weapons they have, etc. However, Nassen and Honorius are completely in the dark about each other, and they have too little contact. Not to mention the Great Wasteland City, even the entire Nassen probably doesn't have much research material on Honorius. And now, the star-level Honorius law has appeared, which is a rare resource. Lin Ke waved his hand, and the group of law sand emitting grey-black light floated over. He took a casual look at it and put it into the space ring, then looked into the distance and transmitted the voice, "All troops attack." In an instant, the army of the Grey Sand Plain took action. Kill. Kill all these monsters. Kill, kill, kill. John remained motionless in the sky, directing the troops in the middle, while countless team commanders led the professionals to swarm out. Lin Ke had already aroused the morale of the army. At this time, everyone was very excited and rushed into the black fog with high morale. There were still many monsters left in the black fog, and they continued to rush towards the Nasan army. At the same time, Lin Ke looked at other Honuris strongmen. At present, there are not many Honuris above level 15. Those above level 15 were all solved in the previous nuclear explosion. The remaining here is not enough for Nasan to fill the gap. So Lin Ke was relieved, and then continued to fly away. Clear the laws of Honuris all the way. Wherever these laws pass, it is equivalent to becoming the buff bonus area of Honuris. In the future, other Honuris lives can still enter here and get corresponding bonuses. Therefore, it must be cleared. Moreover, the removal can only be done through the collision and cancellation of laws. All laws in the star realm are equal, just like the universal laws of physics in the universe of the previous life. If there is heat here, then absorb it. If there is a law here, then collide and it will disappear. Lin Ke has many laws. In addition to the laws of physics, there are also the previous laws of mathematics, the laws of sorting and induction, and so on. He did not stop until his magic power was almost consumed, and then flew back. At this time, the grey-black fog had almost dissipated, which meant that the laws represented by the grey-black fog in this area had almost dissipated. At this time, the battle had just begun. After Lin Ke retreated, he found John and summoned several army commanders from the Grey Sand Plain on the spot. Get ready cross-plane battle to support the Rosseed Plain. Lin Ke looked at the 6 army commanders and John and got straight to the point. The 6 army commanders were shocked. What? So soon? We just finished. I suggest you take a 2-day break. Why is Your Excellency the Duke attacking? I agree. Seize the opportunity to pursue the victory. The 6 army commanders had different looks and mixed opinions, but they were all a little surprised that Lin Ke wanted to continue the attack. I can feel that the Starlight class just now was some kind of method of Honuris. Now the Honuris life forms in other planes have received the information from the Grey Sand Plain. Lin Ke's face was slightly solemn. We must notify other planes first, and at the same time rush to the nearest Rosseide plane to expand the advantage. Expand the advantage. Many times, the commander-in-chief of all armies needs to make a choice, and these choices will be related to the future of the entire army. Whether the future is an advantage or a disadvantage, a victory or a defeat, it is all related to these choices. For example, now, some commanders think that they should consolidate the results of the battle, while others, like Lin Ke, think that they should seize the opportunity to pursue the victory. As the commander-in-chief, Lin Ke's judgment is to seize the opportunity to pursue the victory and expand the results. If he fails in the future, it may be because he was too radical today and led the whole army to a funeral. But if he did not choose to pursue the victory at this time, it is very likely that other planes would suffer more fierce attacks, leading to a complete defeat, or delaying a great opportunity. In short, choice is very important. Whether it is a general, commander, marshal, king, or head of a family, store manager, company president, etc. As long as you need to control the direction, you must learn to make choices. From firewood, rice, oil, salt, sauce, vinegar, and tea to countries and plains, you need to use a variety of information, tools, experience, thinking, etc. to judge the situation and make a decision. At this time, Lin Ke has made a decision. Expand the advantage. Seeing that Lin Ke has made up his mind, everyone put away their ideas at this time. At this time, whether you stay in place and wait for the people of Nasan's destiny to assign new tasks or pursue the victory, it doesn't make much difference. As the most outstanding life form in Nasan in the past few hundred years, Lin Ke also trusts Lin Ke's judgment. No matter what, Lin Ke is smarter than them, right? Not only is he smarter than them, but his level is also higher than those old guys who have lived for who knows how long, and he must have received more information than them. Those marshals who originally wanted to stay behind just need to think about it, and they will accept it. So, they all went down to gather the team, counted the wounded and the harvest, and gathered again. Then, Lin Ke nodded to John. It was the night of the Grey Sand Plain. The projection of the moon was hanging high in the sky, and the stars were shining. John He threw it to the ground in the air, and 3 huge warships appeared on the ground. The Great Wilderness class aircraft carrier. The largest and most complete air combat unit of the Great Wilderness City. In addition to the first one, that was kept by the Great Wilderness City itself, the Naseng Fate community also ordered 100 ships from the Great Wilderness City. Of course, such a huge order volume cannot be completed in a short time. It is estimated that, even if Li Mobi is exhausted, it will take decades. The search, transportation, quenching, etc. of resources also include various designs. After all, if every ship is the same, the enemy will be too easy to target. The 3 aircraft carriers John released at this time were the Great Wilderness class aircraft carriers that had been built in the Great Wilderness City. There was nothing on these 3 aircraft carriers, and the magic power in them was not activated. But the soldiers were excited all of a sudden. Aircraft carrier. What a big aircraft carrier. I've seen it in the newspaper. This is a Great Wilderness class. It must be so domineering. I must buy one and drive it every day in the future. You wish. This thing can probably drain a level 15. But the subships should be able to. Aircraft carriers, men's romance. This ferocious and domineering appearance is even liked by many women. Chapter 739. Cross-dimensional navigation. The 6 commanders who had just reached the ground suddenly changed their expressions. I think, in terms of magic power, I should be the one to drive the aircraft carrier. Well, I'm a level 17 knight, so it should be natural. A werewolf commander stood up and said in a deep voice. Sitting on him was a nearly 2-meter tall saber-toothed tiger. Hearing the words of the werewolf commander, the saber-toothed tiger's body stiffened for a moment. Hey, you wishful thinking. Didn't you just say that you wanted to suggest sticking to the Grey Sand Plain? If it were you, I should be the one to drive it. I'm the strongest dwarf here. However, a bearded dwarf did not hesitate to pierce the words of the werewolf commander. You just covet the body of the aircraft carrier. Don't you want your saber-toothed tiger? Hearing this, the werewolf commander's expression changed, and he quickly looked at the saber-toothed tiger he was riding. The saber-toothed tiger had no expression on his face. Of course, a blank expression is the greatest expression. Okay, don't mess around. Another commander stood up, but he was a great magician of the human race. This profession is very old, and most of the people standing there are scholars, and there are very few or even almost no magicians. And this commander is a relatively old 17th level, great magician. No way, you are a great magician. How can you ride an aircraft carrier? The dwarf screamed. The human, great magician, was about to speak when the next commander spoke again. In short, the 6 commanders began to quarrel, and in general, they were fighting for one thing. Driving rights. They have many mounts, but the strongest and largest are only dragons. And what about the 3 aircraft carriers not far ahead? The shape is generally round, but the internal structure is different. Think about it. Compared with the mounts of other low-level professionals, they are just the difference between Mercedes-Benz, BMW and Chery questions in Lin Ke's previous life. But now, that is the difference between Mercedes-Benz, BMW and Chang'an 1. The gap is even greater. As a knight, if you can't ride such a good mount, it's just like a person who is about to run away from the city and finds the only public toilet within a radius of 10 miles in the downtown area, but is told that only certain people can use that public toilet. Seeing it but not being able to sit on it is simply torture. Now, several commanders are arguing and want to drive these 3 aircraft carriers. 6 people, only 3 ships, too many people and too little porridge. But at this moment, the 3 aircraft carriers suddenly floated up by themselves, and then small subships flew out of them. Those subships flew to the ground and stopped in front of the army. Everyone, please enter the aircraft carrier. John's voice came from the sky, and at the same time, 3 phantoms appeared on the 3 aircraft carriers. Roar. Hoo-hoo. Quack. 3 roars sounded. The phantoms of a lion, a monkey, and a giant frog appeared on the 3 aircraft carriers. Spirit. The aircraft carrier is too large, and the operation required is not a trivial matter. The aircraft carrier in Dahuang City was also equipped with a weapon spirit at the back. Although it was not comparable to the weapon spirits he had bred, it was enough for the weapon spirits to be roughly operated and controlled. The energy for operation would be provided mostly by the core furnace, and a small part would be provided by the helmsman. Then, John looked at the 6 commanders. The 6 commanders were instantly refreshed. "Please pair up and drive together," John said briefly, and then he and Lin Ke flew to one of the aircraft carriers. The 6 commanders were stunned, but they didn't say much, and began to order their subordinates to enter the carriers one by one. After a few hours, the 3 aircraft carriers barely took in the troops. The remaining troops returned to Elder and most of the other troops were already on the aircraft carriers. Boom boom. The 3 aircraft carriers started up, with a feeling of mountains and rivers roaring, and the momentum was huge, and the magic element nearby were drained in an instant. It was like 3 huge circular cities, slowly flying towards the sky. The speed was getting faster and faster, and finally it even exceeded the speed of sound. With such a huge volume, what does it mean to exceed the speed of sound? The magic power of the entire grey sand plain even began to fluctuate violently, and was stirred up by the 3 aircraft carriers. Elder Cui on the ground watched the 3 aircraft carriers going away, and when they approached the crystal wall of the plain, he activated the magic power in his body. Suddenly, a certain rule outside the crystal wall of the plane fluctuated violently, and a large black hole suddenly appeared on the crystal wall. So the 3 aircraft carriers flew out of the hole one by one, and came to the void. At this time, Lin Ke in the ship looked back. The appearance of the grey sand plain is more like a small planet, not as good as NASA, but there are also mountains and seas. Because it is covered by grey sand all year round, this planet looks grey and black. And in the void here, there is no void star beast. Basically, as long as the plane is occupied by large forces, families, etc. of NASA, the void star beasts and the like will be slaughtered cleanly, forging tools, and eating tools for eating. After sailing for a while, the 3 aircraft carriers left the void of the grey sand plain, and arrived at the star plane. Once they entered the star plane, the speed of the aircraft carriers increased sharply. The colorful starplane turbulence is the energy source of the aircraft carriers. Countless starplane turbulences are absorbed by the aircraft carriers and then transformed into the purest energy after being smelted in the core furnace to supply the ship body. They rushed all the way, and if they encountered a starplane virtual beast, they would just hit it. If they didn't kill it, they would use electromagnetic cannons, high pressure water cannons or flame cannons. Starplane virtual beasts that most sergeants had never seen or touched in the past became their 3 meals a day. Of course, the aircraft carriers flew in a certain direction at high speed for more than 2 days, and they finally arrived at the periphery of the Rosseed Plain. Is it here? Lin Ke looked at the starplane guide in John's hand. Yes. John's face was solemn. The starplane guide is a map in the starplane, usually drawn by legends, and is very precious. They are going to come out, and they are sailing across plains, so they have naturally prepared the starplane guide long ago. It seems that the situation here is not good. Lin Ke looked at the situation not far away, and squinted his eyes. In the astral turbulence not far away, many corpses that have not been completely assimilated by the astral turbulence are floating up and down. Those corpses have the lives of Nasang and Honurus. Generally speaking, even the corpses of legends cannot exist in the astral turbulence for so long. And the corpses in front are obviously low-level professionals, and there are few high-level ones. This proves that these corpses have not been dead for a long time. Let everyone prepare for battle. Chapter 740, Blue Giant Turtle Loster. Lin Ke had just given the order when he saw a huge creature rushing out of the turbulence of the star realm in front of him. A Honurus life. This Honurus life is also a spider hyena. However, the mouth of this spider hyena is full of large flesh-colored pustules, and there are large and small black spots in those pustules, as if they are pregnant with some kind of life. Legend. It turned out to be a legendary spider hyena. So far, what can be confirmed is that in Honduras, there are spider hyenas and the octopus called Kunge seal. These are two powerful races similar to the human race, and they are born to fit the laws of the main plane of Honduras. Raw. The spider hyena looked at the three behemoths that were comparable to its own size, let out a roar, and then rushed over directly. Needless to say, Lin Ke, the three aircraft carriers were already in a state of readiness for battle, and at this time they activated their main guns at once. The purple poison giant frog suddenly ejected a thick electromagnetic column. The ice water ape fired 3 rotating high pressure water cannons, and the flame lion fired a powerful blue flame. The weapon spirits of the 3 aircraft carriers roared, and 3 attacks went straight over. The spider hyena was only about level 21, and it should be difficult to resist the 3 main gun attacks of the Great Wilderness aircraft carrier. You know, in Nasengli, the main gun of the mothership controlled by AOF could directly kill the legend. Although several Nasan commanders are not as good as AOF, they are definitely not weak with the assistance of the ship spirit. And Hashat. Saskadok. The spider hyena roared and split open the huge mouth that separated its body. The dense flesh-colored pustules in it burst one by one and spurted out turbid khaki slurry. In the slurry, countless unknown creatures could be vaguely seen wailing and roaring. The main gun beam of the aircraft carrier bombarded it, and the slurry quickly melted in it and then turned into colorful astral turbulence. However, the attack of the main gun was weakened by this, and finally it was assimilated by the astral turbulence. At this moment, accompanied by the fluctuation of space, a huge monster emerged from the astral turbulence again. Blue turtle. A huge blue turtle. This size, Lin Ke estimated that it was as big as the previous Azan territory. The one in front is Mr. Lava from the Black and White Kingdom. The blue turtle made an old and sincere voice. On the huge shell of the blue turtle, you can see all kinds of fortifications, and magic circles filled with various secret texts filled the shell, and a lot of Nasan intelligent life stood on it. Mr. Loster. Lin Ke said the name of the legendary blue giant turtle in front of him. This is one of the legends stationed in the Rosseed Plain. Coming from the ocean of stars and waves, the turtles under the command of the race have trade relations with the Great Wilderness City, and they have a good relationship. Let's kill this spider hyena together. The blue giant turtle Loster laughed heartily and waved his right front fin at the spider hyena. A scene of water grass and grass immediately appeared in the turbulence of the star realm. At the same time, the various secret characters on his tortoise shell lit up one by one, flashing a dazzling brilliance. The professionals standing on it made full use of the magic turrets, condensing powerful skills one by one and throwing them over. The spider hyena also opened its mouth at this time, and one of the pustules broke, and then a large number of Honduras lives emerged from it, roaring and rushing towards those skills, and then resisting with their bodies. At the same time, Lin Ke gave an order, and countless subships also roared out from the mothership. These subships are naturally not as good as the special army of the Great Desert City, but with the control of the ship spirit and the reasonable combination, they can also create a good killing power. Now, the spider hyena opened its mouth and roared, and a yellowish brown light condensed outside its body, confronting the water grass field of the blue turtle Loster. 2 completely different laws resisted and entangled each other, and the fields on both sides confronted each other. In the domain, even the turbulence of the astral world cannot join. While fighting, Loster adjusted the direction and pressed the spider hyena to the place where it just appeared. That is where the secondary plane resides. Press him in. Lin Ke immediately understood Loster's intention and signaled John. John and other commanders also saw it. No wonder there were so many corpses outside just now. It turned out that Nasan and Honduras had been going in and out here. The spider hyena wanted to go out here, but Loster didn't let him go out. Combined with the purpose of their coming, everyone understood it instantly. This spider hyena either wanted to escape from here, or go to the Grey Sand Plain for support. But in short, the news of Honduras' defeat in the Grey Sand Plain must have been transmitted here in some way, so that this spider hyena knew it, and then wanted to leave the Rosseid Plain. Lin Ke and the others understood this meaning, so they also opened fire at full power, and pressed the spider hyena into the void of Rosseid. Although the spider hyena is a legend in Honduras, it can do nothing in this situation. However, the spider hyena seems to be getting anxious at this time. Pustules begin to appear in not only the mouth, but also other parts of the body. Densely packed souls emerge from the pustules, howling in pain, and then draw black lines and rush towards Lin Ke and the others. If the Honurus monster that just came out of the spider hyena's pustules is 1, then the monster that appears now is at least 5. A full 5 times. In an instant, the sense of oppression hits you. Haha. This monster is fighting hard. The blue giant turtle Loster laughed and immediately broke the sense of oppression. He opened his mouth and let out a terrifying roar. Roar. Layers of sound waves rolled over, carrying the powerful power of the law. The spider hyena resisted with all its might. At the same time, just as the two sides were in a stalemate, Lin Ke's tiny body suddenly flew out of the aircraft carrier. Although he has not reached the legendary level, his body is wrapped in a thick layer of laws, and his body is also glowing slightly. Rule body. When Lin Ke was at level 10 or 10 before, he had entered the astral realm, but at that time he could only slightly resist the turbulence of the astral realm, and could only go with the flow. And now, in Lin Ke's perception, he can already come and go freely like a legend, but his speed is not as fast as a legend. At this time, Lin Ke's body shot out, with a thunder wrist force ball suspended above his head, and a huge amount of white light gushing out of his eyes. Lava. Loster saw Lin Ke's figure, but was slightly surprised. Then the next moment, he suddenly widened his turtle eyes. This. How can an epic level condense a domain? Chapter 741 Mountain Mushroom. Loster was shocked, and almost repelled by the spider hyena. No wonder Loster was shocked. That's a domain. It represents the suppression after the legend has fully comprehended a certain law. The stronger the comprehension of the law, the stronger the suppression of other laws in the domain. But no matter what, this is the manifestation of the complete comprehension of other laws. This lava duke Lin Ke is only level 19. Has he fully comprehended a law? You know, even the starlight level can only be regarded as there is always a little afterglow of the legend. The starlight level's comprehension of the law is estimated to be less than 50%. In this case, it is impossible to condense the law below the legend, unless someone's comprehension of the law has reached 100%, but the accumulation of magic power cannot reach it. But is this possible? 99.9999% of Nasang's intelligent life is stuck at the starlight level for hundreds or thousands of years. There are very few who have lived for tens of thousands of years, because most of the starlight level is only thousands or tens of thousands of years. With such a long lifespan, what everyone lacks is the feedback after comprehending the law, not magic power. But, is this possible? Loster couldn't help asking himself. If it was another epic or star level, Loster probably wouldn't be sure. But, the man in front of Loster seemed to be one of the most gifted intelligent beings in his long life. If it was Lin Ke, maybe it was really possible. In other words, as long as Lin Ke accumulated enough magic power, he would immediately become a legend! Exclamation mark. Thinking of this, Loster was suddenly shocked. A human legend under the age of 30? Exclamation mark. However, just as he was shocked, because of Lin Ke's domain joining, the spider hyena was suddenly pressed back into the void. Without time to communicate more, Loster waved his limbs and followed the spider hyena in, followed by Lin Ke and 3 aircraft carriers. Entering the void, countless lives were also fighting in the void at this time. Large battlefield. It is easier to survive in the void than in the star realm, but at least you need to be a level 15 existence. At this time, the number of both sides fighting is more than 100,000. However, Lin Ke took a closer look and found that those were not 100,000 strong men, but something similar to the skills of 2 strong men. On one side was another spider hyena, and the soul released from the spider hyena's abscess. On the other side was Mushroom Man. No. Lin Ke was slightly surprised, but dismissed the idea in an instant. The Mushroom Man had long been exterminated by the poisonous mushroom clan of that year, and it was extinction at the level of rules. The poisonous mushroom was one of the 5 holy lives of that year. After the disappearance of the dominant strongman parasitic mother, the poisonous mushroom was still one of the 5 holy lives, but it was no longer as powerful as before. It was even like the fairy clan, split into several races, including the earth mushroom, the snow mountain mushroom, etc. At this time, the mountain mushroom was in the void. In the void, a giant blue-gray mushroom that might be 2 or 3 times the size of the spider hyena stood there, like a small star. The blue-gray mushroom has 7 mushroom heads in total, with earth element floating at the bottom. The entire blue-gray body is covered with scars, and you can vaguely see orange light flashing in the scars. Legendary mountain mushroom. Mountain mushrooms are rare, just like the phoenix. Although the toxicity is not as good as that of the poisonous mushroom, the mountain mushroom is a powerful upper life race. When it is about 300 years old, when its body matures, it will absorb the metal, soil, grass and other element of a mountain range, and its body will become extremely huge. Of course, it is not allowed to absorb within the Holy Life Alliance, and it can only be absorbed in the secondary plane. This also caused the number of this race to become increasingly scarce. Many times, in the tribal mountain forest territory of the poisonous mushroom clan, mountain mushrooms are very rejected, because they are too gluttonous. Therefore, most mountain mushrooms are in a state of malnutrition, and only a few large mountain mushroom tribes can afford to raise them, and they are also thrown to the secondary plane to raise them. But when they really grow up, the mountain mushrooms are powerful. The legendary mountain mushroom in front of him was a powerful figure from ancient times. Lin Ke had read the information. In terms of seniority, before Li Mobi was born, this mountain mushroom was already a legend in the Star World. Although he was only at level 22, his strength was beyond doubt. An ancient and powerful existence. This mountain mushroom stood in the void, and then countless spores floated out of his body. After those spores were spit out, they immediately turned into mushroom life with only fighting instincts. Those mushroom lives were strange and varied, with various laws flashing on their bodies. Mountains, rivers, flames, lightning, plants, or spewing frost, or turning into flames, or swift as the wind. Various laws were highlighted. If you didn't look closely, you would think that there were really tens of thousands of troops fighting. The spider hyena on the opposite side was also quite good. Countless pustules burst in its body, but the souls in it were not howling in pain, but a uniform voice of sadness. The soul was crying. The shapes of those souls were just as bizarre and strange as the life forms of Honurus. They rushed towards the spores on the opposite side while crying. The two sides fought hard, and then they saw the suppressed spider hyena, and Lin Ke and others following closely. Kill. Lin Ke snorted coldly, and the subdomain suddenly spread out. At the same time, the souls in his mind surged. But, the void trembled slightly, and an endless red color swept across the entire space. Vision. Nassing. Strong. The spider hyena, that was originally fighting with the mountain mushroom, let out a roar, and the pus on its body trembled rapidly, but the soul inside did not break out again. The spider hyena, that was just suppressed by Lin Ke and others, quickly flew to the other side and let out an inexplicable roar. This is lava? Lava, you have become a legend? The voice of the mountain mushroom, that was spewing countless spores, contained a sense of surprise. Being able to use the domain represents everything, plus Lin Ke is walking in the starry sky and the void as usual, plus the terrifying red vision. Is this not a legend? Exclamation mark. If this is not a legend, the mountain mushroom is willing to eat less mountain range. Lin Ke did not answer after hearing this, but the 3 great wilderness aircraft carriers behind him gave the answer with their attacks. Quarter, stop talking nonsense, get those 2 bastards. The blue giant turtle Loster shouted, and the vision and domain in his body also roared out. If the domain represents the impact on the material world, then the vision is the collision of the spiritual world. The mountain mushroom called Quarter also laughed, and his body shook, and the vision and domain also collided. Target, spider hyena. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 742, Forced to Retreat. Roar. The 2 spider hyenas over there gathered together and immediately used their full strength. The souls of howling and weeping exploded from the 2 spider hyenas, and then rushed over with rolling black mist. 3 domains and 3 visions directly frightened the 2 spider hyenas, and made them use all their strength. Boom. A shocking sound came from the void. Logically speaking, there should not be a medium for sound transmission in the void, but the laws here manifest this collision with the law of sound. Lin Ke almost lost his hearing. But now he couldn't hide in the aircraft carrier, but had to kill the enemy in one battle. He took back the domain at the time of the collision, and still kept the vision, to fight against the thinking power of the spider heinous. At the same time, his figure quickly approached the front. The mountain mushroom and the blue giant turtle immediately saw Lin Ke's intention. Although they didn't know what Lin Ke was going to do, they knew that Lin Ke was definitely not a fool who wanted to die. In addition to the result of the previous battle in the Grey Sand Plain, they immediately made a decision. Heavy mountains. The mountain mushroom stopped spitting spores, and the magic power in its huge body boiled. Suddenly, a mountain range condensed in front of it. Mountain mushroom, skill. Heavy mountains. At the same time, the magic power in the blue giant turtle's body also boiled. Vine algae penetrate. Wave giant turtle. Skill. Vine algae penetrate. Suddenly, dense brown seeds appeared in the sea wave field of the blue giant turtle luster. Those seeds sprouted and grew in an instant, and the seaweeds that grew were of various kinds. All of these seaweeds penetrated the spider hyena. Weak, hard, green, red. Countless vines penetrated, like a sharp sword filling the void, and on the other side was a mountain pressing over, and although the laws on the mountain were not refined, they were countless in number. The skills of the legendary position of the two legends. The two legends absorbed the laws and magic power of the crystal wall of the Rosseed Plain nearby, and the use of the two skills directly reduced the concentration of element in the Rosseed Plain by a lot. Legendary battles can be tolerated by planes like the main plane, which have stable time and space and strong magic. Only the full strength attack of the master level cannot bear it. For the secondary plane, it can accommodate the power of the legend of the main plane, but it will inevitably cause a great impact. Just like now, the mountain mushrooms did not use powerful large-scale skills to fight before, because this is their own plane. After draining it, the plane will be useless. So they usually fight the enemy through long-term consumption and accumulate advantages. When the advantages are accumulated, it is a good time to kill the enemy with one blow. This is also the reason why many high-level strong men fight very long. Of course, if the level difference is too large, or the strength difference is too large, then the battle is just a matter of minutes. At this time, the skills of the two legends were used, and the pressure on the two spider hyenas doubled, and they also retracted their original means, and used their own skills. Although crazy, the spider hyenas must have good wisdom. They can see that what the two legends are doing, is to allow Lin Ke to get close to them. Roar. Nasum. One of the spider hyenas opened its huge mouth, that was cut across its body, and its tongue stuck out, then broke apart by itself. The broken tongue did not shed a single drop of blood, but instead blossomed from the tip of the tongue like a flower bud, crashing into the skull of the mountain mushroom. The dozen spider lances on the back of another spider hyena that looked like spider legs broke apart at the root, and then flew towards the skull of the blue giant turtle with smelly juice. Moreover, after breaking apart, the flesh buds on the back of the spider hyena flew again, and new spider lances grew again, and shot out at a very fast speed. And during this spider lance firing, the pustules on the body of the spider hyena also shrank at a very fast speed. 4-way wrestling. However, straw can break a camel's back, let alone 3 great wilderness class aircraft carriers. Boom. Inspired by the ship spirits and the commanders who were at the helm, the 3 aircraft carriers fired a thick attack from their main guns. The meaning of an aircraft carrier is to condense and expand. In other words, the original power of 10,000 ones was turned into 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1, and a few squares were added. Originally, a legend wanted to kill 10,000 level 15 professionals, and it was estimated that the law would be enough. But what if these 10,000 level 15 professionals united? 1 gram of gunpowder exploded 10,000 times in sequence, and 10,000 gram of gunpowder exploded at the same time, which was completely different. At this time, as the last 3 aircraft carriers that overwhelmed the camel, the 2 spider hyenas finally fell into a disadvantage. However, just when Lin Ke had approached and took out a certain amount of uranium from the space ring, the 2 spider hyenas changed. The spider hyenas, which were originally weird, crazy, and extremely evil, showed a trace of timidity at this time. The two spider hyenas instantly turned into rolling black fog and smashed into the nearby planet Roside. Seeing this, Lin Ke stopped immediately. In the distance, on the planet, a region covered by black fog can be seen from a distance, accounting for about 1/3 of the entire planet. The planet Roside, or Roside Plain, is a place where only about 40% of the area is land. The place where the spider hyena landed is a corner of most of the land in the ocean. There, black fog lingered. Hey, force them back. At this time, Loster, who was as big as a city, slid over and looked in the direction of Lin Ke's gaze. Lin Ke nodded slightly and took back the uranium element. The two spider hyenas obviously wanted to leave here, whether to escape or to go to the Grey Sand Plain. But no matter what, as long as the two spider hyenas are firmly trapped here, the two legends plus the army of the Roside Plain, plus the 3 aircraft carriers and the Grey Sand army on them, it will not be a problem to slowly grind them to death in a few years or decades. Of course, if the situation changes, you can also be more radical, spend a certain price to eliminate the two spider hyenas, and then go to support other planes. But in short, they are now in the initiative. Lord Lava. At this moment, a mountain mushroom that was larger than a mountain range in the distance flew towards this side, shrinking its body as it flew, and it seemed to have solidified some kind of transformation skills. Finally, the mountain mushroom that looked very much like an ordinary fungus came in front of Lin Ke. Toxic mushrooms and their subspecies have a characteristic, that is, they have no facial features, but transmit sound through sound vibrations. Visually, they have no eyes, and perceive the outside world through light. After the mountain mushroom in front of him shrank, it came to Lin Ke like a giant 1.8 meter tall inoki mushroom, and then asked in confusion, "Strange, Lava, aren't you legend yet?" Chapter 743, Eliminating Roside. Never. Lin Ke smiled upon hearing this, and let go of his habitual disguise. You know, he has a palace guard bracelet, and hiding his breath has become an instinct. Level 19. Sensing Lin Ke's breath, the mountain mushroom shook its body, and the surrounding voices vibrated. But you just, not to mention Lin Ke's overwhelming and terrifying red vision, he would believe that vision, even if someone said it was the vision of the master. In addition to the vision, Lin Ke just used the domain. Although it is a little weak, it is undoubtedly a domain. One of the research results of the Great Wasteland City. Lin Ke smiled and didn't say much. The mountain mushroom and the blue giant turtle immediately understood what Lin Ke meant and didn't ask any more questions. The science of the Great Wasteland City has long been famous in Nasm. They have also been there in their incarnations and naturally know that for the Great Wasteland City, there is no shortage of various skills and magic. It's just that today I learned that the Great Wasteland City can even study things like domains. I have to say that this is still very surprising. I also had spores scattered in the Great Wasteland City in the early years, but I stopped exploring after your human race's Li Guanmobi went there. It's a pity to think about it. Shanling Mushroom shook his body gently, as if sighing and shaking his head. Before Li Guanmobi went there, Shanling Mushroom's exploration was just out of curiosity, just like a normal person going shopping and looking around. But after Li Guanmobi and his group went there, Shanling Mushroom might cause misunderstanding if he explored again, so Shanling Mushroom withdrew the exploration spores. No problem. When the front line is done, you can visit at will. Lin Ke maintained a friendly smile. In addition to the Great Wilderness City, there are some new cities built in my lava territory, which are also quite unique. You are welcome to visit them when the time comes. Okay, you two can get to know each other slowly when the time comes. The blue giant turtle smiled and then pointed at the mountain mushroom and Lin Ke respectively and said, "This is the Duke of Lava Lin Ke, and this is the mountain mushroom Colt. It's enough to get to know each other. Let's go down and see the situation." Just now, the two legendary spider hyenas hid in the initial station and did not come out, so we must be on guard. Hearing this, Lin Ke also nodded. It is not easy to kill the legend. Let's go down first. Then, Lin Ke nodded to the 3 aircraft carriers from a distance and then landed with the blue giant turtle and the mountain mushroom. The Roside Plain is not big, but it is larger than the Grey Sand Plain. This plane does not have the specialty of grey sand like the grey sand plane, but is an ordinary plane that is in line with the rules. It is unknown what the Aborigines are. Anyway, it is estimated that the Aborigines here have been exterminated tens of thousands of years ago. Instead, the power of the Star and Wave Ocean came. At that time, the Star and Wave Ocean was ruled by the Deep Sea Mermaid Kingdom. The king of the Deep Sea Mermaid Kingdom was extremely powerful. The wand of annihilation that Andrew gave to Lin Ke in the early years came from that king. Unfortunately, a series of events triggered by the human Andrew in those years also led to the fall of the dominant Mermaid King. The 5 masters of the Holy Life Alliance are closely related. The relationship between the Blue Giant Turtle clan and the Deep Sea Mermaid clan is not close, or most of the clans of the Star and Wave Ocean became kings after the ancient Deep Sea Mermaid Kingdom fell apart. In other words, after leaving the control of the Mermaid Kingdom, they all returned to freedom. Although they returned to freedom, they were all planes that were previously under their control, and the later Mermaid Kingdom did not take them back. This is also the case with the Rosside plane of the Blue Giant Turtle clan. Over the past 10,000 years, the Rosside plane has become one of the planes where the Blue Giant Turtles produce seafood. The Blue Giant Turtles also have a shop in the trading center of the Great Wasteland City. Generally speaking, they mainly focus on bulk transactions, which can also ensure that the needs of both parties are met as much as possible. If it is just a scattered transaction, one buys one, and the other buys one, how long will it take to sell? However, the Rosside plane at this time has almost become a battlefield. Whether it is land or sea, the stench is spreading everywhere. It is easy to destroy, but difficult to build. Nasang is building, and Honurus is destroying. Fortunately, although this plane has some production, it is not a pillar industry of the family like the Grey Sand plane, and the Blue Giant Turtle Loster is not particularly distressed. Therefore, the Rosside plane has completely become a battlefield, and the bodies of Nasang and Honurus who need their lives are thrown on land and sea. The ecosystem also has a purification limit. When this limit is exceeded, it cannot be purified. At this time, in Rosside, there were countless corpses, and there were all kinds of explosions and shocks. It was obvious that Nasang life was fighting with Honurus life on land and in the sea. In this case, it was not worth it for Nasang to do the work of cleaning up the battlefield. In other words, the Rosside plane was not much different from being completely occupied at this time. The closer Lin Ke got, the more he could feel it. So he took out his dark clone and absorbed endless souls. Loster and Colt were slightly surprised to see this, but they didn't say anything. After finding a place to stay and landing on the sea, Loster's body shrank, and the Nasang intelligent life on his back jumped out one by one. Most of them were marine life, and at this time they all sank into the sea to help other Nasang soldiers who were fighting. Court said, "Lava, Loster and I will stop the spider hyenas, and the rest will be left to you." Okay. Lin Ke nodded slightly. After cleaning up the outside world, we will get rid of the spider hyenas together. After that, Lin Ke sent orders to the 3 aircraft carriers in the distance, mainly to John. So, the 3 aircraft carriers sped in the air, heading in 3 different directions, and while flying, subships flew out to clean up the Honurus lives in the sea. 3 ship spirits appeared above the aircraft carriers, adjusting their directions, and heading to the place where the Honurus lives gathered the most. Lin Ke was almost the same. He ran around with the deep dark clone, while killing those strange looking Honurus lives. However, while speeding and killing, Lin Ke suddenly felt that the deep dark clone seemed to be undergoing some changes. So Lin Ke landed on the sea at random during the killing. He used a skill that could condense the earth element, condensing a square piece of land floating on the sea, like a leaf floating in the water. Then Lin Ke looked at the dark clone lying motionless in front of him, and reached out to touch it. Chapter 744, The End of Rosside. Lin Ke touched the dark clone with both hands, and felt it carefully. After being transformed by Ruwen, the dark clone has the ability to absorb souls. Although Honurus is different from Nasang in some laws, they are both living beings, so they naturally have souls. Now it seems that Honurus' soul is somewhat different from Nasang. Lin Ke transferred part of his consciousness to the clone, and the main body also used exploration skills to explore tissues, cells, flesh and blood. Lin Ke checked it inch by inch from the inside out, and the dark clone seemed almost flawless to him. It can be seen that the Rat Lord also paid a great price to forge this clone. After the exploration, Lin Ke could not see the difference. No difference? Lin Ke frowned. Logically speaking, there should be no difference. After all, they are all souls. You absorbed Nasung's life or Honorius's. But Lin Ke just felt that there was a difference. So Lin Ke simply made a place similar to a laboratory on the spot. Just like in the giant beast plane, he studied directly on the spot. The dark clone will certainly help Lin Ke in the future, so Lin Ke must take it seriously. Fortunately, it is easy for Lin Ke to do research now. There is no need for a venue, as the element gather to form a venue. There is no need for research equipment, as skills are the best equipment, and there is no need for funds, materials, etc. Therefore, Lin Ke entered the research state on the spot. For the dark clone, slicing is naturally unnecessary, but some stimulation reactions are naturally indispensable. Lin Ke had done research on the dark clone before, and now he is doing it again after the dark clone has changed, which took several months. When the data results come out, the results will naturally come out after comparing the two. Exactly the same. After debugging the last test item, Lin Ke couldn't help but let out a breath slowly. In 3 months, he has basically done almost all the tests. Radionuclides, normal. Ultrasound examination, normal. Chemical element sequencing, normal, 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 or normal. The dark clone has almost no changes. The only change is similar to a little tanning. Visual changes. Wait. Thinking of this, Lin Ke suddenly narrowed his eyes. Visual changes? What is the biggest possibility of visual changes? Optical changes. This clone is called Deep Darkness, and Lin Ke didn't give it a random name. This clone contains more dark element, and there are also traces of the law of darkness in addition to the soul law. Now it seems it has become a little darker. Perhaps it is a change in the law. Thinking of this, Lin Ke waved his hand casually, and large pieces of pressure shields whizzed out, like raindrops all over the sky. The shields are like bubbles, spreading out, finding the scattered Honorius, trapping them and bringing them back. Today, there are not many scattered Honorius, and most of them have retreated to the base camp. 3 aircraft carriers accompanied by large groups of troops swept across and brought those hidden Honorius to Lin Ke one by one. Bring one, Lin Ke kills one, and then takes the soul of one. And with the investment of the soul of the Honorius life, Lin Ke found that the deep dark clone has indeed changed. It has turned black. A change in the law level. Lin Ke looked at the dark clone in front of him and muttered to himself. It must be a change in the law level. But this kind of change is impossible. Just like a sword that you have forged, how can you turn it into a mace unless you remelt it? The dark clone originally had the law of darkness, but the blackening at this time was not a change in the law of darkness, but more like the law of evil. Lin Ke narrowed his eyes. Each main plane is supposed to be tolerant and can accommodate many laws from secondary planes. Nasung is like this, with all kinds of laws and all kinds of cultivation methods. The eternal twilight continent Feldjammer is more inclined to the way of gods, with only the eternal twilight as the supreme master god. The beast spirit continent Cuse is more barbaric and wild, which is the characteristic of the beast spirit continent. Now it seems that one of the characteristics of the Honorius plane may be weirdness, madness, and evil. From this point of view, if he absorbs more souls of Cuse life, he will become barbaric, and if he absorbs the souls of Feldjammer life, he will have the twilight godhood. Nasung's meaning, at present, perhaps the most prominent is the fearlessness of the human race. Absorbing more of Honorius life, it has a bit more evil meaning. But at present, it seems that such a law has given the deep dark clone a few more changes, which is also good. After thinking about it, Lin Ke suddenly had a plan in his mind. The deep dark clone must not only absorb the souls of the endless planes of the heavenly star realm, but also absorb the souls of several main planes. In other words, Lin Ke has to go to the main plane of Cuse and the main plane of eternal twilight to collect some souls there. The law of souls is not that simple. The mystery contained in it may allow the deep dark to have a deeper change. Thinking of this, Lin Ke ended this research. Since the deep dark clone is fine, after absorbing these souls, there is no need to worry. He looked into the distance, his eyes glowed slightly, and his body soared into the sky. As Lin Ke moved, the roadside plain also changed. Not far from the place, occupied by the Honira's plane, two huge monsters appeared. The figure of the mountain mushroom emerged on the land, and the figure of the blue giant turtle slowly rose from the ocean. Kukikota and Loster. They sensed that Lin Ke had finished his research and the murderous intent on Lin Ke, and immediately knew that the time was up. Elsewhere, 3 huge aircraft carriers also began to turn around. Other places have been cleaned up, and the next step is to completely pull out the two spider hyenas. The front line was in a delicate balance at the beginning, until Lin Ke could quickly deal with the grey sand plane, and then turn to roadside, which has 2 legends. If the speed is faster, Lin Ke may even be able to invade the secondary planes, where Honira's is located. So, while flying, Lin Ke raised his momentum, and the boundless red color dyed the sky. There is no need to say anything, just use action to announce the arrival of the decisive battle in the roadside plain. It was easy for the 2 legends of Honirus to enter the Roseid plain, but it was impossible for them to get out now. A battle of trapped beasts. Today, we will completely kill those 2 spider hyenas. The voice of the blue giant turtle Loster resounded throughout the Roseid plain. It was worth it to use the destruction of a Roseid plain in exchange for the fall of 2 legendary fighters of Honirus. Chapter 745. Research on light. Boom. Boom. The roars resounded throughout the Roseid plain, causing the crystal wall of the plain to tremble. Lin Ke, the aircraft carrier, the mountain mushroom Kukikota, and the blue giant turtle Loster. With the combined efforts of several parties, the endless element of the Roseid plain all enveloped the place, where the black fog was scattered. Now, except for this place, there is no Honirus life in other places in the Roseid plain. Even if there is, it is a low-level life. That is not a big deal. Therefore, as long as this place is eliminated now, the Roseid plain will completely become the forward base of the Nasan side. Anyway, it is already useless, so it is better to use it as a place to station troops, and as a battlefield. So, Lin Ke and the others completely broke out. Lin Ke was seen standing in front of the aircraft carrier, riding physics under him, and the thunder wrist force ball on his head was floating up and down. Night. And behind him, there were 3 knights on the 3 aircraft carriers. The mounts were aircraft carriers, and the knights were many soldiers and sergeants. It looks like a knight group of only 4 people, but there are actually hundreds of thousands of knights. What is the basis for Nasan to travel across the endless plains of the stars and the heavens? It is the professional Parthenonite group. Lin Ke rode on physics, and the magic in his body was boiling. He looked to the left and right. At this time, the mountain mushroom Kukikota was huge, like an endless mountain range. And the blue giant turtle Loster also revealed his huge body, comparable to a city. But the 2 of them looked at Lin Ke with a little surprise. Can you play like this? Lord Lava is really powerful. Loster and Kukikota can both feel that the knight group with Lin Ke as the peak may have surpassed the most basic 21st legendary level in terms of power. 22nd legendary. How difficult is it to be promoted before the legendary level? Not to mention after the legendary level. From 21st to 22nd, it is also a qualitative leap. At this time, with the help of 3 aircraft carriers, Lin Ke, who is only level 19, can already reach the strength of the legendary level, or even the strength of the 22nd level. Although Loster and Kukikota were surprised at this time, they did not lose their composure. They had come into contact with many of the knights of the human race over the years. Naturally, they knew that Lin Ke's state was normal. So the 2 responded to Lin Ke. Lin Ke nodded immediately, looked at the land in the center with black air, and uttered 2 words, charge. The next moment, Lin Ke led the energy of the entire knights, and filled the entire space under the coordination of John's skills. The mountain mushroom and the blue giant turtle were in the other 2 directions, and the 3 parties formed a triangle, and rushed to the central area. 2 spider hyenas appeared, roaring to the sky, resisting the attacks of the 3 parties. The Battle of the Roseid Plain has begun. 1 year later, Dahuang City. Lin Ke walked on the road of Dahuang University, and his destination was the research laboratory. He wanted to study. Since the Roseid Plain was solved before, the front line can be said to have made a significant breakthrough. Lin Ke left the deep dark clone there, commanding behind the scenes, while absorbing various souls. After all, Lin Ke only went to the front line at the beginning, and didn't go there much afterwards. The forces stationed in various planes survived the initial collision one by one, and then began to fight back. What should others do at this time? Especially the high-end forces of various NASM? The answer is, improve. Try to improve. The main plane of Honduras gradually showed its terrifying power. Neither Qs nor Eternal Twilight had much ability to stop Nasang's steps, and Nasang had encountered many main planes in recent years. But in the end, these main planes were no match for Nasang. If it weren't for the fact that the planet where Nasang was located could no longer accommodate other main planes, there would probably be several more continents around Nasang. But what about Honduras? Emperor Wumian said at the beginning that Honduras was so powerful that Nasang could not ignore him. Even if he didn't go all out, it was estimated that the final outcome would be uncertain. If it were other main planes, even if there were beings comparable to Nasang's master level, they would not be able to beat Wumian. Therefore, Honduras has now attracted Nasang's full attention. Lin Ke, of course, also needs to improve as soon as possible. Breaking through to legend is not like breaking through to level 15. To break through to legend, it is enough for one of the professions to break through to legend. In other words, he only needs a certain profession to master a complete law, and that profession can break through to legend. Therefore, the best place for Lin Ke to break through at this time is not the battlefield, but the research institute. Scientist. Level 19 scientist. Morning, principal. Mr. Lin Ke. Good morning, principal. Walking on the road, various professors greeted Lin Ke. Lin Ke nodded in response. Then he came to a laboratory. Optical laboratory. Lin Ke pushed the door open and went in. There was a lot of noise inside, very messy, just like a vegetable market. Speed. Light particles are about to be discovered. The wavelength is determined. Repeat. Oh, lux. Damn, why is the dark element so difficult to control? Stability. I need to determine the stability. It was a mess here, and no one cared, even if Lin Ke came. In theory, the space here is very large, but there are only a few high-end researchers, so everyone yelled, representing the urgency of each researcher. Lin Ke smiled, and shook his head, and hurried to his desk. There were some papers on the desk, and a series of Nasang words were written on the memo. Optical holography and display imaging, wave particle duality of light, quantum optics, plasma optics, light field regulation and quantum information. These are all current research directions, including light heat conversion and the like. Lin Ke's current focus is actually the research on light element. Other things are easy to say, but the research on light element means that Lin Ke can touch the essence of magic. Magic? Other element aside, the light element may be the same as in the previous life. Just like the water element here is not H2O, the water element may be the water element, with magic, and the fire element is the fire element, which is different from flames. Everything in the previous life had no magic, but there is here in Nasang. So although many physical laws can be reflected, there are still magical laws. Now, Lin Ke feels that the study of light may be the best channel to connect the physics of the previous life and the physics of this life. The light element may be the same as the light element in the previous life, so it must show some fundamentally similar physical laws. For example, the wave-particle duality of light. Double-slit interference experiment. Chapter 746 The wave-particle duality of light. What is the wave-particle duality of light? It means that all particles or quanta can be described not only partially in terms of particles, but also partially in terms of waves. In the past, this meant that the classical concepts of particles and waves lost their ability to fully describe physical behaviors within the quantum range. This is a subversive achievement. In classical mechanics, the research objects are always clearly divided into pure particles and pure waves. The former constitutes what we often call matter, and the typical example of the latter is light waves. The wave-particle duality solves this dilemma of pure particles and pure waves. It provides a theoretical framework that allows any substance to sometimes exhibit particle properties and sometimes exhibit wave properties. Quantum mechanics believes that all particles in nature, such as photons, electrons or atoms, can be described by a differential equation, such as the Schrödinger equation. The solution to this equation is a wave function, which describes the state of the particle. Wave functions have superposition properties, and they can interfere with each other like waves. At the same time, the wave function is also interpreted as describing the probability amplitude of a particle appearing at a specific location. In this way, particle properties and wave properties are unified in the same explanation. Lin Ke felt that, as long as he could prove and explain the wave-particle duality, he would definitely be promoted to the starlight level. The accumulation of magic power was not a big problem for him now. Lottery, trade, taxation, etc. were enough to buy all kinds of treasures that increased magic power. He replenished his magic power, and then with the help of the research on wave-particle duality, he directly broke through to the starlight level. Even at the starlight level, Lin Ke was not going to stay for too long. He wanted to break through to the legend level with the help of other research. Only when you reach the legend level, you will have the power to protect yourself. Just as Lin Ke was about to sit down, a roar suddenly sounded from behind him. Andrew's leg. Lava. Why are you here just now? An old man with a white beard roared and rushed over from the experimental equipment in the distance, and his head even turned into a light element body. Thomas. Lin Ke stood up helplessly. You have comprehended the law of refraction of light. How come there is thunder power in your voice? Why don't you consider changing your job to Storm Sword Master? The old man called Thomas stood in front of Lin Ke, and his mouth full of punctuation marks full of light power sprayed on Lin Ke's face. Look at my experiment. Light is obviously a particle. How can light be a particle? Since light propagates in a straight line and will reflect when it encounters an obstacle, this is no different from classical mechanics. Light is a particle. My theory is not wrong. While spitting saliva, Thomas pointed to the research results he recorded on paper. Although Thomas looks like a human old man, a closer look will reveal that this old man is actually a dwarf. The scene of the dwarf living in the dark underground actually comprehended the law of refraction of light and became a legend. However, although he is the king of the dwarf clan, after the opening of the Great Wilderness University, he directly abandoned the dwarf kingdom in the far west and came here to join Lin Ke's research team. Very willful. However, it also proved that this dwarf was serious about research. Before, he had been studying light. Later, after his research in the Great Wasteland City gradually transitioned to microscopic physics, he extended it to the question of whether light is a wave or a particle. Lin Ke naturally gave his full support. Of course, some people also extended it to this question. Lin Ke, light is an electromagnetic wave. You see, when light shines through two slits, there will be a very obvious interference phenomenon. I saw it with my own eyes. If light is a particle, then according to reason, it will definitely form two beams of light when it passes through two slits. Light is clearly a wave. Orfser and Beard were all erected, and he came to Thomas to confront him. Both of them were legendary strongmen, and both had white beards. They stared at each other, holding their research results in their hands, and looking at each other. Lin Ke was a little helpless and said, you all know that light has the dual nature of wave and particle. Impossible. Light is a wave. The two legendary big men turned around and sprayed Lin Ke. Lin Ke shook his head helplessly, then spread his hands. Just right. I'm ready. He has been accumulating magic power during this period, and now, the magic power has almost been accumulated. Then, let's reveal this secret. Looking at Lin Ke's expression, Thomas was fine, but Orf's heart skipped a beat. Lin Ke, does light really have duality? Orf's eyebrows jumped wildly. Isn't it mechanical inlay? Lin Ke nodded steadily. Light has wave-particle duality. In addition, I have some new research to be published. Well, published in science. Science can be regarded as something that every passenger has heard of so far. Something similar to newspapers and comics. The most important thing is that the audience group of this thing is most professionals. Because what will be published in science are generally breakthroughs in theoretical science and applied science, NASA's latest research, cutting-edge theories, etc. The cognition of professionals is very important. whether it is a scholar or a knight. If the cognition changes, the lightest is stagnation and depression, and the heaviest is direct soul rupture and true spirit dissipation. When a knight doubts his original intention, such as Gero says Will is fearless, when he doubts and denies his fearlessness, he may die directly. When a scholar doubts and denies his own research, it is similar. When Lin Ke held a conference, he directly disintegrated the soul of a legend at the cognitive level, causing the legend to die on the spot and turn into light rain. Therefore, cognition is very important. And what is Lin Ke doing? In the magazine Science, people are kept skeptical and leave room for everything, rather than everything being certain, absolute, and necessary. In this way, many people will naturally not stubbornly hold on to their original backward ideas and die. Over the years, as Lin Ke's attitude towards the truth spread, Lin Ke dared to gradually bring out some research. For example, the wave-particle duality of light. Lin Ke had already told Thomas and Orff in advance, but they still stubbornly believed that light only has waves or light is particles. If Lin Ke did the experiment, the two of them would probably have a direct cognitive breakdown. Of course, because of the foundation of so many years of study and research, under the influence of the principal Lin Ke, these two old antiques actually don't completely believe in their own research. This is why, when they saw Lin Ke was so sure of the wave-particle duality of light, no more changes appeared in the soul space. In the past, a soul space rupture would be necessary. Then, Professor Thomas, teacher, you come with me. By the way, Magnus, gather the people. Chapter 747 Renedica's Strange Law. Lin Ke thought about it for a moment, then smiled and said, Magnus, open class, for all students. As soon as he finished speaking, the dragon soul of the magma dragon Magnus appeared here. Yes, sir. Magnus responded, and then sank into the ground. Lin Ke looked at Orff and Thomas. About the wave-particle duality of light, perhaps it can deepen the student's understanding of the truth. Truth. What is truth? It must not be unique, but something that can be proved within a certain range. You say that light is a wave, which makes sense. Because light can be observed as a wave under certain circumstances. You say that light is a particle, that's also right. In short, as long as there are prerequisites, it can be regarded as a limited truth. However, we must always know that many truths at present are limited. Lin Ke must repeat this concept to all students again and again. Otherwise, once some cognitions are solidified, everything will end if they are changed in the future. At this time, hearing Lin Ke's words, Orff and Thomas looked at each other. Based on their understanding of Lin Ke would not make such a decision without certainty. In this way, the wave-particle duality of light has indeed been proved. Orff was shocked, and the dwarf Thomas said angrily, Lin Ke, show me. Be patient. Lin Ke shook his head. You should think about it carefully in the next 2 days. Don't lose your heart to explore the truth in opposition and uniqueness. After that, Lin Ke took out the lava scepter and left here directly. Only Orff and Thomas were left. Orff was okay. He had a certain skeptical attitude towards this matter. After all, although he was Lin Ke's teacher, he was also the person who was most influenced by Lin Ke. As for Thomas, his magic power was boiling. The magic power boiled for a long time before Thomas calmed down, and then patted Orff next to him. I really don't know how you can be his teacher. Don't you have pressure? Orff slowly exhaled. He was only 6 years old back then, and now he is less than 30. 30? Thomas was startled. I'm over 2100. Well, maybe 800 or 900. Orff glanced at him. Thomas was furious. So what? If I had this disciple, I would have dominated long ago. Oh, really? So the two old men quarreled here. At this time, Lin Ke had already arrived at the principal's office. As expected, Renedica was here. Teacher. Renedica greeted Lin Ke lazily. Lin Ke nodded. Have you digested it? Renedica had captured a section of Honierus's law before, which came from the clone of a certain master. Almost done. Renedica stretched and yawned. Let you feel it. The next moment, a strange and cold breath burst out from Renedica's body. A wisp of black mist escaped from his body, which looked very much like Honierus's life. What is the performance of Nasing's intelligent life when using blood and professional power? That is, all the holes on the body will glow, especially the facial features, which are the closest to the soul and the mind. Why glow? This is because blood comes from the soul space, professions are attached to blood, and skills grow from professions. When using skills, as long as the soul power cannot be perfectly controlled, light will be transmitted, especially in the eyes and mouth. But this is a feature of nasang, or a feature of the professional system. Honoris is not like this. Now it seems that Honoris seems to have the form of overflowing black mist. Thinking of this, Lin Ke immediately carefully experienced the law of Honoris possessed by Renedica. Wisps of black mist emerged from Renedica's body, and Renedica's figure also flickered, just like when the TV signal is not good. In this flickering, a bloody arm stretched out from Renedica's flickering body and grabbed Lin Ke. Lin Ke was immediately shrouded in that cold breath and felt a creepy feeling all over his body. Danger. Lin Ke's hair stood on end, and a series of protective skills suddenly emerged from his body. He also took out the lava staff in his hand. At this moment, Lin Ke couldn't even tell whether Renedica in front of him was the real person or a fake person disguised by Honuris. Too real. Too dangerous. Lin Ke even subconsciously activated 0 degree, continuously absorbing energy from the surroundings, ready to attack or escape at any time. However, the bloody hand stopped halfway. How is it? Renedica's body stopped flickering, and the bloody hand disappeared without a trace. Very real. Very weird. Lin Ke exhaled. I almost thought you were Honuris's man. So. Renedica looked at Lin Ke. Lin Ke also looked at Renedica, and immediately had an idea in his mind. You mean? Renedica smiled and nodded. Will it be too dangerous? Although he said so, Lin Ke's heart was moved. Lurking in Honuris. Not the secondary plane within the influence of Honuris, but the main plane of Honuris. But it is very difficult. Because even if they enter the secondary plane, it is difficult to teleport to the main plane of Honuris through the teleportation array there. Even if the teleportation array in the secondary plane is not guarded by anyone, there must be someone guarding the main plane of Honuris. So, this is destined to be difficult. The most important thing is that Renedica's level is too high. Once he goes to those planes, no matter how hidden he is, he will be exposed once he makes a move. At that time, he will probably face a group beating and can't escape. Honuris must have strong people. At present, it is not known whether there are strong people who are stronger than the Sleepless Emperor, but Nasang does not dare to gamble. Therefore, Renedica will definitely not be able to go there. If he is discovered, it will be over. It is dangerous for sure. Renedica smiled, but I think we don't need to go, but let others go. Lin Ke also nodded. Not to mention Renedica, a strong man with dominant power, it is the same for him. It's not that he is hypocritical. The rapid development of Nasang mainly relies on Dahuang City, and the rapid development of Dahuang City mainly relies on Lin Ke. Once Lin Ke collapses, it is hard to say what will happen to his followers, but many things will inevitably be scattered like ants when the tree falls, such as some policies that Lin Ke forcefully promotes. Those policies will definitely benefit future generations, but not everyone is willing to bear such pressure and challenges. If it were not Lin Ke, anyone else would encounter resistance when promoting some policies. Dahuang City would also lose a foresighted leader. Therefore, the best way is to send professionals. Professional spies. Chapter 748 The Birth of Philosophy. In that case, maybe we should make a plan. Lin Ke began to think. If you want to take risks, there must be enough benefits. If the benefits are not big enough, Lin Ke doesn't want to go into Honuris stupidly and die. Of course, if the benefits are big enough, not to mention Lin Ke, even Emperor Wumian is willing to take risks. Yeah, no hurry, no hurry. Renedica returned to his lazy look, and then said to Lin Ke, come on, let's discuss the dialectics you talked about with me before. Materialistic dialectics. And dialectical idealism. Lin Ke nodded slightly, waved his hand to invite the principal's chair to sit down. It's time for Renedica to break through. What's the matter with being stuck at level 27? Break through to level 28 directly, and break through without side effects. In this way, they will have one more master. You must know that there has been no new master born in Nasang for many years. Let alone the master. There is only AOF, even the legend. And now, the trend led by the Great Wasteland City is giving birth to a new batch of legends. led by Aofu. Many intelligent beings in Nasang have received a huge amount of feedback in Dahuang City, and many have made breakthroughs. This is why there is a saying that the development of Nasang depends on Dahuang City. If Lin Ke can create another master, I believe Dahuang City will be more popular. Thinking of this, Lin Ke looked at Renedica, and in Renedica's expectant eyes, he asked solemnly, "Are you ready to break through the master?" "Master?" Renedica's lazy expression changed. He raised his eyebrows and said with interest, "I knew you must be a monster. Why, is the content you are going to teach me enough for me to break through without side effects?" "My little teacher." Renedica saying "my little teacher" is just like Ruwen saying "my little Lin Ke," full of philosophical atmosphere. This makes Lin Ke's scalp numb. These people who play philosophy, whether they are the philosophers Socrates and Plato in the previous life, or Ruwen and Renedica who play with souls in this life, it seems that they don't care about gender. In other words, they are more interested in the soul and spirit, rather than the body. Of course, Lin Ke felt that he did not have such a high level of philosophical awareness, so he coughed and said, "That side effect is likely to be eliminated, but, forget it, I'll tell you, at most you can suppress the feeling of breakthrough." Renedica almost broke through during a speech at that time, but was suppressed. Because once Renedica breaks through, it may put a lot of Nasang lives of insufficient level into his thinking, and from then on those lives can only exist in Renedica's imagination. It is hard to guard against and unreasonable. Therefore, Renedica has never broken through. However, Lin Ke knows that it is because Renedica's main thought is actually a more subjective idealism. In that case, it is normal to have this weird ability of "I think, therefore I am." I think dialectics is an abstraction of the logical process, that is, the study of words, reasoning, description, concepts, and interpretation processes. Lin Ke began to narrate at this time. Dialectics means that two or more people hold different views and hope to obtain real knowledge through reasonable discussions, but this debate excludes subjective factors, such as emotional appeals and modern derogatory rhetoric. What is the significance of dialectical thinking? Why did so many wise men in the past choose dialectical materialism? Why not choose idealism? These must be reasonable. The simplest is that idealism cannot invent the internet or the convenient modern society. Idealism cannot support a series of pillar industries such as physics, chemistry, biology, industry, and medicine. If you have a cold and a fever, do you want to use idealistic methods, superstitious methods, or materialistic methods to treat it? In simple terms, do you want to use "I believe I'm not sick, so I'm not sick," or pray to God to get rid of the disease, or just take medicine? Therefore, the importance of materialism is obvious, and dialectics can be used as a commanding role, breakthrough and improvement role. Dialectical thinking is a high-level thinking activity. It is based on materialist dialectics to understand objective things. It can reflect the true face of things and reveal the deep-seated contradictions within things. In activities, we often encounter difficulties. Either we cannot find the main problem, or we cannot provide an effective solution to the problem, which leads to a deadlock. Often at this time, dialectical thinking becomes a powerful weapon to break the deadlock. In addition, the understanding of things by intelligent creatures always has a process from shallow to deep, from perceptual understanding to rational understanding. To rise to theory, it is necessary to comprehensively summarize the thinking results with the help of dialectical thinking, and enhance the cognitive value of the results. Of course, in summary, dialectics is one of the greatest achievements in the history of philosophy so far. Why is science philosophy in the end? That's it. At this time, listening to Lin Ke's explanation, Renedica's eyes became brighter and brighter, and even burst out a huge amount of white light. So, you unified materialism and idealism into a discipline called philosophy, and at the same time found a methodology, and came up with dialectics. Renedica's voice was full of grandeur and magnificence, causing the entire principal's office to tremble slightly. Yes. Lin Ke looked at Renedica firmly. After Lin Ke's confirmation, Renedica's body suddenly became empty, like an asphalt road in high temperature. Distorted, empty, and blurred. Then, with a sound like a soap bubble bursting, Renedica suddenly disappeared from Lin Ke's sight. At the same time, an invisible wave spread out. The principal's office the Great Wilderness University, the Great Wilderness Plain, the Lava Territory, the Black and White Kingdom, Nasang, and even the boundless secondary plains. Somewhere in the Star Realm, the body of the Wumian Emperor closed his eyes and stood in the turbulence of the Star Realm, with two swords, one black and one white, rotating around him. When he inhaled, the endless turbulence of the Star Realm rushed into his body, and when he exhaled, the turbulence of the Star Realm rushed out again, creating a vacuum zone. And when the wave spread, the Wumian Emperor suddenly opened his eyes. Good guy. This older mortal finally broke through. The Wumian Emperor raised his eyebrows. The Wumian Emperor was not very old, probably about 1,000 years old. When he was born, Renedica was already a legend. When he was in power, Renedica was still a legend. But he knew that Renedica was not unable to break through, but did not want to break through. And today, he felt the mysterious fluctuations and immediately knew Renedica was going to break through. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 749 Rules. Lin Ke's philosophical system. At the same time, in the magnificent building Fearless Tower surrounding the planet, where Nassan was located, Andrew was doing experiments on the laboratory table at this time, and from time to time he reached out and took out some strange things from the void. For example, the godhead of some gods in the secondary plane, unknown biological organs, strange shaped minerals, etc. When the wave passed, the laboratory table in front of Andrew burst into a violent light. It exploded. Damn it! Andrew exclaimed and opened his hands to cover the laboratory table. The strong explosion that was enough to blow up a secondary plane gradually shrank and subsided in Andrew's hands. Hey, Zyada Lin Ke 0° skill is really useful. Seeing that the original experimental accident was eliminated, Andrew touched his beard with satisfaction and then looked down at his body and sighed to himself. This kid Renedica has finally broken through. After sighing, Andrew bent over his desk to study again. On his laboratory table, the desktop was extremely clean after the explosion, so he grabbed directly into the void with both hands. All kinds of living things, non-living things, tools, godheads, etc. were directly grabbed by him from the endless secondary plane and thrown onto the table. Then they turned into several forces and entangled together. Soul power, savage power, divine power, and black fog. Renedica broke through, and for a moment, this information was reflected on the huge crystal wall system of Nasang, and then spread to the surrounding star realms. A new master appeared in Nasang. In the deepest part of the crystal wall system, a vague rule appeared. The rules in the deepest part of the crystal wall system basically remain unchanged for many years, and they are all rules similar to water, fire, earth, wind, etc. But at this time, a vague new rule appeared. Suddenly, many beings sensed it. It's just that the rules are difficult, and only legends can vaguely feel it. However, this rule made all beings above level 15 sense it. Dahong University. When the rule of Lin Ke philosophy system was born, countless teachers looked up at the sky. In the classroom, in the laboratory, on the playground, in the apartment, those who are teaching, training, and studying the secondary plane. Countless teachers have sensed the huge changes in the crystal wall system. Why did the laws I comprehend change? Not only the laws. I can feel a powerful system. What happened? Some teachers took off into the air, trying to fly to the teleportation point at the school gate to check Nassan. But at this moment, Magnus' voice resounded throughout the Great Wilderness University. Don't be surprised. It was teacher Renedica who broke through to the Lord level under the guidance of Principal Lin Ke. Don't be surprised. It was teacher Renedica who broke through to the Lord level under the guidance of Principal Lin Ke. Don't be surprised. Magnus' voice was played repeatedly on campus, making the teachers more surprised. Lin Ke taught others to break through. It's just a drizzle. Very normal, not worth making a fuss about. Renedica broke through to the Lord level? Big news. Absolutely big news. That's the Lord level. But when the two pieces of information were combined. Did I hear it wrong? What do you mean by the principal guiding others to break through to the master level? This thing can also guide breakthroughs. Speaking of the master level, our school also has a master level teacher, Andrew's leg. I remembered that the principal has an open class. Oh, Lady Tide is in class. I forgot to choose it. Hey, do you still believe in Lady Tide? Hehe, what else? Lady Tide is aloof. Have you seen the special photography stone? Hehe. The students began to discuss, and the more they discussed, the more excited they became. It's so meaningful. There are many points of great significance, and the most important ones are two. One is, Dahuang University finally has its own master. It's a bit strange to say this. After all, Dahuang University is affiliated with Lava Territory Dahuang City, and the Duke of Lava is the Duke of the Black and White Kingdom. Of course, the Black and White Kingdom has its own master, and the large group of people under Emperor Wumian are. However, they are all members of the Black and White royal family, and now, Dahuang University also has its own master. Of course, the more important ones are still to come. This master was taught by Lin Ke, Andrew above, Lava above, gods above, His Majesty Wumian above. If Lin Ke can guide the master, wouldn't it be easy to guide a legend? What about guiding the star level? What about guiding the epic level? What about the element level? What about the 10th level? Although everyone knows that this kind of feedback is limited, Lin Ke can't teach others infinitely. But what if being able to guide others to break through the master level, not to mention guiding them to break through to the legend level, but at least guiding them to break through to the star level or the epic level, it should be very simple, right? So, all the students were boiling. Not to mention the students, countless teachers were also excited. As long as they are teachers, except for those with special contacts who can be admitted as an exception, all other teachers are at least level 15 or above. How difficult is it to break through to level 15 or above, let alone level 15? Even Lin Ke spent a lot of savings to break through from level 14 to level 15. And if there is Lin Ke's guidance, it will definitely be twice the result with half the effort. At the beginning, many teachers came to the Great Wasteland City for one purpose, which was to make a breakthrough. Because many things in the Great Wasteland City are new. New theories, new doctrines, new ideas, new methods, new perspectives. These new things make them excited. After all, the reason why many legends go out to wander in the astral world is to explore new secondary planes in order to get inspiration and make breakthroughs. And now, it's not just new things. Lin Ke has already shown the strength of guiding the master level. In addition to the previous Aofu, it must be said that Aofu's achievements have long been stripped naked. Aofu was mediocre from more than 800 years ago, until he met Lin Ke. He was able to reach the 19th level completely through hard work. Then what? It took nearly 1,000 years to reach the 19th level. If nothing unexpected happens, it may take several times longer to reach Xinghu, and then it will take 10 times longer to reach Legend. The result? In less than 2 years, he arrived at Xinghu. A few years later, he was directly promoted to Legend, the legendary king of electromagnetics. If it weren't for Lin Ke, the undead wouldn't believe that Aofu could break through so quickly. People thought Aofu was an exception at first. After all, Lin Ke was only a few years old. How smart could he be? What happened? Under Lin Ke's influence, the great Sword Earl obtained the title of Marquis and wrote a book on military theory. Kanako, the chief priest of the goddess of wealth, originally rebelled against the temple and became a fallen priest. Everyone thought that Kanako might be corrupted forever. Good guy, she became the goddess of finance in a short time. What else is there? There are also the followers under Lin Ke. Chapter 750 Athena of Takai Martial Arts School. How scary are the followers under Lin Ke? John, the first person under Lin Ke, controls the Great Wasteland City in Lin Ke's will, making it a famous large city on the continent. Nyx, under Lin Ke's instruction, created a medical system and wrote the complete book of herbs, creating medical methods that ordinary people can also implement. He is the ancestor of medicine on the entire continent. Black Mountain, under Lin Ke's instruction, created the Scholared Wasteland. This intelligence agency is more prosperous than the Mercenary Union. She is the queen who controls the business and underground world. And what's another? Worker, bull jack of capital, Sophie the queen of songs, Ramirov, great poet, Laplace of mathematics, military master, chess player, Yale, chemist, Granny Shisei who made a nuclear explosion, architect, Velen who built wonders. Which of these followers is not a well-known existence? Which one did not jump from the original level to an existence above level 15 in just a dozen years under the influence, guidance, and instruction of Lin Ke? Doesn't this show that Lin Ke teaches well? Looking at the entire Nasang, looking at all the secondary planes within the influence of Nasang and all the intelligent life within them, is there anyone who is better at teaching than Lin Ke? Not to mention Lin Ke's friends. Lin Ke's friends are either legends or masters. Not to mention his student Renedica, whose student is also a master, and is said to be a figure from the same period as Emperor Wumian. Not to mention the Black and White Kingdom, Emperor Wumian, the five-colored dragon mother, the moon goddess and their children. Several of the 7 Grand Dukes and their children. In addition, a chief of the Minotaur tribe of the Holy Life Alliance and a female chief of the Rabbit tribe. You know, Lin Ke is just an epic level strongman. You know, the person behind Lin Ke was only a small country viscount of Gerosei. So, Lin Ke may have all this, and it is definitely not just because of that viscount. So, in the Great Wilderness University, countless students, teachers, and some other faculty and staff, visitors, etc., were boiling. At this time, all the students and teachers in the boiling campus were talking about it. They temporarily put down what they were doing and discussed excitedly. Ms. Magnus announced the principal's open class before. Yes, yes, yes. Hurry up and grab the class. But the night course I booked before conflicts with the open class, and I'm afraid of losing credits. Why bother? Maybe the teacher will skip the class. That makes sense. The students quickly took out their student ID cards and rushed to grab the class. Although it was an open class, there were only 30,000 people who could apply for Lin Ke's open class. Lin Ke only opened a medium-sized open class classroom, which could accommodate 30,000 people. In just a few seconds, 30,000 people were full. Those who had chosen the open class before were naturally very lucky, while those who did not choose were naturally very upset. The name of the open class is Light a Particle or a Wave. While the Great Wilderness University was boiling, other places in Nasang were similar. Great Wilderness City, Teikai Martial Arts Hall. Oh, so boring. Cat nurse Athena sat in Lin Ke's position, with her long legs folded on the desk, her body leaning back in the office chair, and staring at the ceiling in a daze. I wonder if Lord Sparta's training has ended. She sat in the position where Lin Ke sat when he transformed into Sparta, and she didn't know what she was thinking about. Her tail swayed irritably, and then she moved her butt and blushed. Although her Lord Sparta hadn't come back for several years, she still often recalled the teachings and warmth that Sparta had given her. As long as I can successfully train a gladiator master in the Teikai martial arts school, maybe Lord Sparta will receive the news and come back to see me, Athena said to herself, and then she thought of Sparta's surprised expression when he saw the news, and she couldn't help but smile. Maybe Sparta would come back and give her a hug. Athena, who was recalling that feeling, was suddenly disturbed by the noise outside. Damn. That's amazing. As expected of Lord Lin Ke. Yes, yes. So enviable. There were loud discussions outside the office, filled with exclamations. Athena frowned, stood up from her seat, and pushed the door open to go out. What are you arguing about? Athena walked out of the room with an aura of majesty without anger. As the actual controller of the Teikai martial arts school, and rumored to be the lover of the epic warrior and gladiator Sparta, the background of Catwoman Athena made all the martial arts school students fear her. Not to mention that Catwoman's softness and inch strength are also very powerful, and she has learned the true teachings of Sparta, which makes all the students fear and respect her. Athena, a martial arts instructor, saw Athena and greeted her. Rhino, what are you arguing about? Athena frowned. Not only were the students arguing in front of her, but even several instructors gathered together to watch a live broadcast. This made Athena unhappy. She had always hoped to expand the martial arts school so that one day Sparta would be able to see the news about the Teikai martial arts school somewhere and rush back to meet her. Therefore, she had always been very strict with the instructors and students of the martial arts school. Although the martial arts school had a live photo stone, it was generally only used by students during training breaks, and it could not affect training. Now, a group of people gathered in broad daylight to take photos? Athena. Lord Lava has become the master. Rhino answered Athena in a muffled voice. Athena's face suddenly changed. Duke Lava Lin Ke actually became the master? But she remembered that the master was a legend, wasn't he? Rhino. Don't talk nonsense. An instructor next to him laughed and scolded, and then said to Athena excitedly, it's not Lord Lin Ke who became the master, but he made a teacher the master. Well, teach. Teacher to become the master. Teacher to become the master? Exclamation mark. Athena's eyes flashed with shock, and then she couldn't help but lean over to look at the photo stone, which was indeed broadcasting this special news. But after watching for a while, Athena also became excited. Lin Ke taught others to become the master, so can he also teach her Lord Sparta to become a legend? You know, Sparta's talent is recognized even by the lofty Lord Watson. Thinking of this, Athena's heart flashed with determination. Fight for an opportunity. Let her meet Lord Lin Ke and get his teachings. Then give this opportunity to Sparta. Let Sparta break through to star brilliance, and then break through to legend. At that time, Lord Sparta would not have to train outside all day, right? Thinking of this, Athena's motivation suddenly surged, and then she shouted to the trainees and instructors, alright. Stop watching. Go to training. Damn it. Who dares to be lazy in front of me? I will scratch your eggs. Move. Don't force me to use my claws. In an instant, the Tekai martial arts hall was in full swing. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.